rhythms of spring training with opening day still more than 5 weeks away. The Mets in full swing in exhibition games now. There'll be 36 of them before they're done, but they're off to a fast start. A couple of victories and a couple of 9-run performances, and the Mets continue here at Tradition Field this afternoon as the Cardinals come to town. At Tradition Field in Port St. Lucie, Florida, the New York Mets play the St. Louis Cardinals. Spring training baseball brought to you by Citi. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Tradition Field. Gary Cohen with you. And I'm not by myself, I assure you that, but we'll get to my partner in a little bit. The Mets playing 2 games today. They played a game against the Italian World Baseball Classic team today. They won that game. Mike Pelfrey pitched a couple of scoreless innings, and Francisco Rodriguez, first time out against another team in a Mets uniform, pitched a scoreless inning as well. Today, we'll feature part of the battle for the 5th starter job with Livan Hernandez taking the mound as a starter for the Mets, and we'll also see Freddie Garcia take the mound as well. And you know, spring training is awfully relaxed, and we tend to be pretty relaxed about things here on SNY for these spring training telecasts. I'm up here in the booth, and I think that Keith is somewhere around. He might be somewhere down the left field line. Right down there where that thatched roof is that him?
It's the Tiki Bar. That's where I'm at, Gare. And it's not Kevin. It's me, and Kevin won't be doing analysis with you, I promise. I'll be back up. But the theme of this Open is how the relaxed atmosphere of spring training. It's not quite this relaxed. Meet my new friends. Spring training has a routine. When you start spring training, you folks out there, they're usually half days before the game starts. It's always great for the players because you get your work in the morning. You start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you're done usually around, by the time you shower, your day's done around 1 o'clock, 1:30, and you have the rest of the afternoon to do whatever you want to do. Once the games start, you have those same routine workouts. You do fundamentals, batting practice, and such. But they're shortened because obviously the games start at 1 o'clock. And that's when the days get longer. You go to 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's what really, when you start building up your stamina to play 9 innings and of course, a 162-game season. So that's basically the atmosphere and the flavor here, although it's a little bit different this camp because of the WBC. These players are in shape, and they're having to play longer into the games because they're going to go right in and play 9 innings here. We talked about that yesterday, and they have to be in shape. And, of course, the players are in much better shape than I was at this point of spring training. The only thing I'm missing right now is I could use a little vodka tonic.
Well, make sure you hydrate if you go in that direction, Keith.
Okay.
Wouldn't want you to be, dehydrated for the game today.
I promise.
Well, it's the Mets and the Cardinals from here in Port St. Lucie. Livan Hernandez will take the mound as a Met for the first time, as some guys who will be competing in the World Baseball Classic. Say hi, Mets baseball coming right up. I believe the theme of spring training is eating ice cream out of a helmet. The other theme is Luis Castillo and his resurgence this spring. It's been a pretty good couple of days for him. Well, I guess you can eat the ice cream out of a waffle cone, too, if you can fit your mouth in there. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, by Delta, and by Verizon Wireless. Today, immediately after the game, it's a new look at our new home, Citi Field. Join Kevin Burkhardt for an exclusive tour as the doors of Citi Field are open for you on the SNY Citi Field Special Encore. Today, immediately after the game, only on SNY. It's the Mets and the Cardinals. Livan Hernandez on the mound. First pitch coming right up. Spring training for umpires, too. The 110 game starting at 1:07, and thus Skip Schumacher grounded out without you being able to see it.
That's right. We don't want you folks out there to think that we're cramming all these commercials in, you know. It wasn't our fault.
Not today, anyway. Here's Colby Rasmus, the #2 hitter, against Livan Hernandez. There is the clock on the scoreboard, which I guess that says 109, but it's actually it's 108 and 20 seconds right about now. So they're obviously in a big rush. You know, you were talking about the rhythms of spring training, Keith. Maybe just you know, an early golf game beckons.
How'd it go down there in the tiki bar?
You tell me.
I don't know. I tried to get my producer and see if it was okay.
I see you didn't stop for a drink on your way back.
I can't. I'm working. I'm very professional.
That's very committed of you. Rasmus, the #1 prospect for the Cardinals, grounds one out to Castillo, so 2 ground balls, both at the second baseman Castillo, and there are 2 out and nobody on. Here's your Cardinals starting lineup, brought to you by Citi. Albert Pujols, 8 years in his career, 319 home runs, 977 RBIs. He is putting up Hall of Fame numbers over his brilliant career. And here is, as they call him in St. Louis, El Hombre. A tribute as much to Stan Musial as it is to Albert Pujols.
That's absolutely correct. He is really one of the premier players, obviously. Top 3, 2. He can even be the best player in the game.
I'd say right now you'd have to say he's among the best hitters in the game when you look at what he's done for his career, both average-wise and power-wise. 334 lifetime hitter. Mentioned needs just 23 runs batted in to reach 1,000. This will be only his 9th major league season. 2
MVPs already in his career, 2005 and last year. He's been in the top 5 for MVP votes 7 times. What a player.
And for a Cardinal team last year that was not expected to contend, there were times when Pujols kept them in contention all by himself.
Well, there you go with Livan Hernandez, invited to camp here, and he's got a chance to be the 5th starter. You see his numbers last year. That's a lot of hits given up for innings. See, right, that's kind of stark. That's Gary Nard's favorite word.
Curveball from Livan, lifted to left center and playable for Marlon Anderson. And so Pujols retired, and Livan Hernandez throws a 7-pitch, 1-2-3 inning. And you got to see 2/3 of it. Back with the bottom of the first, on time in a moment. Check out the Mets starting lineup. And no, the leadoff hitter hasn't batted yet. That'll be Luis Castillo for the 3rd straight game, and he's off to a flying start this spring, as is Jose Reyes. His first spring game yesterday, 2 home runs, including a grand slam, and he drove in 6. And again, Jerry Manuel playing most of his regulars against Todd Wellemeyer, who really emerged last year.
You can see his numbers, 32 starts. He's bounced around from the Cubs to Florida to Kansas City, and he's found a home in St. Louis.
Castillo leading off, takes ball 1, and it's amazing how often that happens when journeyman pitchers come under the tutelage of Dave Duncan.
It's happened too often, has it not?
In this case, Wellemeyer was a big hulking guy who threw hard, was a max effort guy in every pitch, and Duncan got him to tone things down a little bit, use his changeup more, and the results last year were palpable.
Well, I talked with Tony La Russa during batting practice when the Cardinals were taking BP, and I asked him about Todd, what's the difference? And he said, well, he just said he just had a chance to start, and he got 32 starts. He was winning. What Tony said he loved about Wellemeyer was that he's not afraid, no matter who's up, what ballpark, wind blowing in, wind blowing out. He's a real gutty guy out there on the mound.
Last year, the Cardinals were without their ace, Chris Carpenter. It provided opportunities for other guys, and Wellemeyer and Kyle Loesch both pitched very well. Ball 3. They're hoping to have Carpenter back healthy this year, and that would, of course, make all the difference in the Cardinals season. And so far, so good for Carpenter, kind of trying to come back from nerve readjustment surgery in his elbow. Castillo fouls it off.
They were a team, the Cardinals, last year that overachieved. They were much like the Florida Marlins, Gary. They were very much in contention through the middle of August, and they faded the last 6 weeks of the season.
And you see Livan Hernandez on deck as again Jerry Manuel bats the pitcher second, trying to get him a bunt opportunity in the 1st inning. Of course, in Livan's case, he's such a good hitter, one of the best hitting pitchers around. You don't mind having him up there in the 1st inning, even if Castillo doesn't get on base.
Very good point. And that's going to be a battle for that 5th spot, it looks like, with Tim Redding, who evidently is feeling better. The toe surgery in the offseason.
Back to the mound for Willemeyer, and so Castillo retired for the first out. And Freddie Garcia in that mix as well.
Yes.
Garcia will pitch as well today. So here is Livan, who pitched for both Minnesota and Colorado last year. Hit .263 last year, .233 lifetime with 9 home runs. Livan Hernandez, who burst on the scene in 1997 as a youngster with the Florida Marlins, was the League Championship Series and World Series MVP, and he has been a classic workhorse. A guy who will go out there every 5th day, give you 200 innings every season, gives up a lot of hits, but never backs off. Takes a strike. His half-brother Orlando Hernandez, El Duque, hoping to pitch again, but doesn't have a job right now. 0-2 to Livan.
Livan, was he not the World Series MVP with the Marlins? He was he not? What year was that? I forget.
97.
97. Wow, that long ago.
Skip Schumacher trying to move from the outfield to second base this year. Throws out Livan Hernandez for the 2nd out. And that'll bring up Jose Reyes, who settled into the number 3 spot in the batting order yesterday, hitting a couple of home runs. But Jerry Manuel acknowledged after the game, as we talked about during the broadcast, that in all probability when the season begins, Jose will be back in a more familiar role as the leadoff hitter.
It'll be very interesting to see who Jerry decides to hit second. I mean, you can put Daniel Murphy in that 2 position as well as Castillo, although I do think they're hoping that Castillo can bounce back and hit in that 2nd spot all year long. And the City Cardinal defense, as you can see, they brought some players, didn't they? Their new shortstop, Khalil Green, after a bad year and injury year, broke his hand the last 6 weeks of the season. He's at shortstop. He's the new shortstop for the Cardinals. His career with San Diego, started with San Diego.
He really needed a fresh start.
Yes.
0-2 to Reyes, and Willemeyer misses with a fastball.
Well, it's a beautiful day. The wind has died today. Yesterday it was blowing.
A little warmer, temperature around 77, 78 degrees.
More like you like it.
Very much so. I'll take 90. Be very happy.
You get cold very easily.
I'm not ashamed to say that.
Thin blood? Are you anemic or no? You're in good health.
So far, so good.
You look good.
Well, I'm knocking wood now. My wife would insist that I do that. Reyes with 204 hits last year, only the 2nd Met ever to reach 200 hits in a season. See some of the sunbathers out on the berm.
Well, he had a phenomenal year last year, and I just really feel, Gary, that under the tutelage of Jerry Manuel, I think they're giving Jose more responsibility on the field as far as field generalship. I just really think that he's in a position right now to really just take it to another level, if there is one.
I thought it was fascinating during the intra-squad games earlier this week. Jerry Manuel spent a lot of time kneeling out in short center field and basically talking to Reyes from pitch to pitch to talk about positioning, talk about communication.
Well, it's very important. I think it's very important for hitters to talk after a game and have a talk session. I used to love how, okay, talk to Darryl after a game and say, well, how did Rick Rhoden pitch you? And you know, in that situation in the 7th with the game on the line, and you do your pitch-by-pitch playback.
And a good off-speed pitch by Willemeyer against Reyes, and so the Mets are down 1-2-3 in the opening inning. We go to the 2nd in Port St. Lucie, no score. Livan Hernandez threw a 7-pitch first inning, taking on Rick Ankiel leading off in the 2nd. And he takes a strike. So Livan coming out throwing nothing but strikes this afternoon. The Cardinals have an incredibly crowded outfield with the emergence last year of Van Keel and of Ryan Ludwig, who had a tremendous year. There's the slow curve from Levon, and Van Keel holds off. It's one of the reasons why they've opted to move Skip Schumacher, who had 300 last year, to second base, just to try and ease some of that overcrowding.
And Skip Schumacher has never played second base, so that's a work in progress right there.
But they've got Chris Duncan coming back off injury. He had a herniated disc in his neck. He's in that outfield mix, and so is Colby Rasmus, who is their #1 prospect and had an injury-plagued year last year, but he is not too far from playing every day in the big leagues.
Well, remember last spring, at the end of spring training, everybody thought the Cardinals were going to be terrible, and they surprised everybody. And it's kind of that same feel about this team this year. But you know what? Tony La Russa just finds a way to have a winning ball club year in, year out.
Tony now in his 14th year as the Cardinal manager. Pulled down to first, and Delgado handles it. So 4 up and 4 set down for Levon Hernandez after the Mets threw a shutout yesterday. They'll bring up Yadier Molina.
And the Met defense presented by the History Channel's Axemen. And you can see it's pretty much the starting lineup out there. Marlon Anderson gets his first start out in left field. Marlon has dropped some pounds this year. He looks in fighting shape. And behind the plate, Rene Rivera gets the call.
Wouldn't you think that Axemen would sponsor the hitters, not the fielders?
Yeah.
It's a lumberjack show, right? Driven to right field, right at Ryan Church, and Molina retired. 2 away. But we have to work with the sales staff on that. We'll line up these sponsors more properly.
Either that or, it's the call of the bullpen, the Axemen.
It would be more the firemen. So here's Chris Duncan. As Freddie Garcia getting set in the Mets bullpen. He'll pitch behind Levon Hernandez. There's a strike to Duncan. Chris Duncan had surgery on a herniated disc in his neck. He now has a titanium disc in his neck. First major league player ever to have that surgery and return, and he's feeling much better.
Now, will titanium set the alarms off in airport screening?
I believe that will happen. Yes, he has to carry a certificate with him, like someone with a knee replacement. And there's the curveball popped up. Long run back for Rivera, and he can't get there. David Wright was playing so far off the line against the left-hand hitter, he would have had no chance. Rene Rivera trying to get back there.
Well, look at Levon. My goodness, he hustled off that mound for a big guy.
Rene Rivera, former Seattle Mariner.
Well, that's the signature pitch from Levon Hernandez, that big slow hook, much like his brother.
And the fastball in there for a call, strike 3. And so Levon Hernandez leaves a lasting message in his first spring start. 6 up and 6 down, and he picks up the strikeout to end the inning. The backfields at the stadium complex here at Tradition Field in Port St. Lucie. We'll be checking in back there in the backfields before too long today. Some of the elite minor leaguers for the Mets are in town. Carlos Delgado leads off the home second, grounds one toward the middle, and Carlos has himself a base hit. Well, 2 base hits to left field yesterday for Delgado, and this one right up the middle. That'll bring up David Wright.
And David with that big year, 124 RBI. Another fine season, another Golden Glove.
David had a couple of hits yesterday, and he went up the middle and to right field. It's been a theme in Mets camp this spring, although I think a lot of guys early in the spring concentrate on going the other way, Keith, don't they?
I always did, because you're trying to get your timing, but it's a little bit different today, Gary. These guys, they swing the bat year round. They're in shape. You've got the WBC. These guys are really, especially have come into shape this year, and I think have their batting strokes. But it's always important to go the other way. Spring training, there's no pressure if you're a guy like Delgado or Wright or Beltran or Reyes. You know you're going to play every day. You can come to spring training and work on things and don't have to worry about, you know, if you're hitting 170, if you're working on something, you have that luxury. Whereas if you're trying to make a ball club, it's a whole different program.
Carlos Beltran on deck. And in Wright's case, you know, for his first 3-4 years, so much of his game was driving the ball to right field, and he seemed to get away from that at times last year.
Well, David got a little bit pull happy, and you know, he's got enough power to go out the opposite field. And you know, when Hojo took over, was it last year, and David had that big uppercut, they worked on him leveling off that swing and going to right field. And David has that ability to do that and be able to not only do that but drive it. It's not a ballpark that can hold him in the opposite field.
Two and two to right. Good cut at that fastball.
You know, talking about David's offense, you know, what's amazing to me is I think Sandy Alomar needs a lot of, gets a senior, needs a lot of, get a lot of kudos, is that David's worked so hard at his defense, and he's very much deserved the 2 Gold Gloves that he's won the last 2 years.
And I think he would be the first to tell you, as he swings and misses for out number 1, second strikeout for Willamar. I think he'd be the first to tell you that his defense was a lot better last year in his second Gold Glove season than it was in his first.
Agreed. 100%. Last year, I thought he was head and shoulders in improvement in the year past. He has just perfected that ball coming, that slow roller with the bare hand. You know, the only errors that he tends to make is the routine ground ball, and it's always on the throat.
And it's all a matter of getting his feet set properly, but even that was a vast improvement last year as Beltran takes ball 1. Carlos homered at a 3-run shot in yesterday's game. 27 home runs last year.
I think it's important to note with Carlos, with the tender knees last year, he led this ball club in games played with 161. He was physically not 100%. 40 doubles last year, 27 home runs, 112 RBI, just a terrific season. 25 stolen bases.
112 or more RBIs 3 straight years. The only player in Major League Baseball who's done that the last 3 seasons.
He is an elite player. There's no question. And to boot, a Gold Glove center fielder with a very, very strong arm and accurate.
And I think it's overlooked sometimes because of the ease with which he plays out there. Hit hard and a base hit for Beltran. So swinging 3-0. Beltran yanks one, bobbled by Rasmus in right field, and that enables Delgado to go on to third. Well, the Mets did a good job taking the extra base against shoddy Florida defense yesterday, and they do it again here in the second inning today.
Well, 3-0 fastball down the pipe. Rasmus boots it there, and Delgado again. Give Delgado credit. He took a base on a pass ball yesterday. Well, actually was ruled a wild pitch. So he has been hustling so far this spring.
They have not put an error on the board, but certainly Delgado would have stopped at second had that ball not been bobbled. And now they put the error up. So first and third and 1 out, an RBI chance for Ryan Church. 3 for 6 so far in the preseason.
Church swung the bat good yesterday. I was impressed.
And he hits this one well to right center. That'll get the run home at least. Rasmus back, and he can't get it. Delgado in to score. Beltran heads to third. He'll stop there as Church has himself an RBI double, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead. A rough inning for Colby Rasmus out in right field.
Well, playing a little bit too shallow here. Oh, we got a glove on it. Almost made the play.
Rasmus is a kid who's been playing center field all his life, playing right field here and finding the going a little difficult. So a run is in. Second and third and 1 out, and Marlon Anderson steps in. Marlon playing left field today, getting his first start of the spring, with Daniel Murphy getting a day off. The Mets played a game earlier today against the Italian WBC team, and won that. And Rob Makoviak played left field in that game. Marlin trying to bounce back from an off year. He hit just .210. Really re-sculpted his body in the offseason, lost a lot of weight, and is hoping for a bounce back year. And with the Mets still trying to figure out how to structure their bench, Marlin is not guaranteed a job on this team.
Well, the plus with Marlin, he's a veteran and a good veteran left-hander off the bench, but he hasn't got a position really to play. He's never has been a great defensive player. And of course, he had the hamstring problems last year.
That'll get a run in. Khalil Green throws out Anderson for the second out as Beltran scores to make it 2-0. So Marlon Anderson drives in a run. Josh Kinney is up at the Cardinal bullpen. That's will remember him from the 2006 League Championship Series. He and Adam Wainwright were quite a 1-2 rookie punch out of that Cardinal bullpen. Here's Rene Rivera. Rivera was in the Dodgers organization last year after spending parts of 3 years playing for the Seattle Mariners, former second-round draft pick, and he swings and misses. Rivera, a guy with a very strong arm, whom the Mets brought over here as a minor league free agent. Well, the Mets have new coaches on the bases this year. That is Anthony Razor Shines, who possesses in his major and minor league career 12 championship rings. That's a lot. And Luis Alicea is the new first base coach for the Mets this year.
Former Cardinal Luis was a middle infielder.
Big college star at the University of Miami back in his day.
And Razor Shines came up with Montreal Expos and just he had a chance. They had high hopes for him, but it never panned out for him.
I remember seeing Razor as a player in Indianapolis back in the late 80s. He was by far the most popular player on that team. Fisted behind third, a tough play going out, and it'll drop in. That brings home Church, and it's 3-0 New York. So Rene Rivera able to fist one into left to drive in a run, and the Mets have 3 home in the second.
Well, nice little chip right there. Nothing you can do about that. Tough luck if you're the pitcher. Wellemeyer, Mets will take it.
So the Mets piecing together 4 hits to score 3 runs, and now here's Luis Castillo with Rivera at first and 2 down. Todd Wellemeyer after a 1-2-3 first inning, scuffling in his second inning as Castillo fouls it off.
There's Castillo right there swinging at a first pitch, Gary, and we talked yesterday about Jerry Manuel wanting Luis to be more aggressive at the plate, not take so much, and there he is swinging at a first pitch. Very uncharacteristic. But he has that cut and slash stroke left-handed. He got more power from the right side.
When Louis first came up, he would almost never hit a ball in the air as a left-hand batter. He had that chopping stroke. He's leveled that out a little bit over the years, and in fact, during the first spring training game down in Fort Lauderdale, we saw him hit one over the left fielder's head, which he almost never does. There's a strike, 1-2. But Castillo far more trim than he was last year when he came to camp off double knee surgery and was not in the best of shape. And fully committed to try and bounce back this year. Now in the second year of a 4-year contract.
Gary, I think one of the big pickups in the offseason that no one really paid attention to by Omar Minaya was thinking about Cora, who's a middle infielder, veteran. Got him from Boston. He is kind of a backstop there, a little insurance policy if in case Castillo doesn't come around or gets injured.
Cora, another left-hand batter. And you know, that goes very much into the composition of the Mets bench, which figures to be overwhelmingly left-handed. And we were talking about Marlon Anderson not necessarily having a spot on the team. If Cora's your backup infielder, left-handed, your backup outfielder is probably going to be either Jeremy Reed or Corey Sullivan, both of whom are left-hand hitters. So you see that if you want a little balance on that bench, there might be room for somebody who can swing the bat from the other side. And Castillo keeps fouling them away, running up Wilmeyer's pitch count, maybe beyond what Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa would want in his first start.
Well, one thing good about the Met bench, it's going to be a strong bench this year. I mean, Tatis is going to get a lot of playing time. I think Jerry, we showed last year, Garrett, he has a propensity to give his regulars rest. I think he's going to have to do that with Delgado a lot this year. Going to give Reyes and Wright a rest. And you've got Tatis, who can play third, can play first, can play the outfield. And that he's going to get a lot of playing time.
I think it's fair to say that anytime the opposition starts a lefty, Tatis will be in the lineup. So for those 60, 65 games, he'll be a starter, whether it's in left field, right field, first base. Runner goes, hit to left field. And Duncan is there. Castillo retired. The inning is over, but the Mets put together 4 hits and scored 3 runs off Todd Wellemeyer. 3-0 New York.
They have some 60 lockers, and as they come into their lockers, all these players will sit down and go through their normal routine. So as we take you inside the locker room here at the New York Met training camp here in St. Petersburg, we'll give you a rundown completely of baseball at lunchtime.
Baseball at lunch.
That, of course, the voice of Ralph Kiner from back in 1962, the Mets' first spring training in St. Petersburg, Florida. Things have gotten a little more luxurious since then, as Freddie Garcia on the mound for the Mets throws his first pitch outside to Khalil Green.
That was Huggins-Stengel Field, was it not?
I believe it was.
That is a small clubhouse. Did you see Freddie Garcia's numbers?
Freddie missed most of last year following shoulder surgery, made 3 starts late in the year with the Tigers, and is trying to win that 5th starter's job, competing with Livan Hernandez and Tim Redding.
Of course, his best year was in '06, where he won 17 games for the White Sox, and of course he was part of that World Championship Sox team in '05.
There's the curveball in for a strike. And we saw Freddie the other day in an inter-squad game, and his curveball was very, very sharp. But the question about Freddie's going to be his velocity and whether he has enough. And he certainly impressed Dan Warthen, who was singing his praises after that appearance in the inter-squad game. What's interesting to watch about Garcia is that he's such a big guy. He's 6'4", 250. And yet he really doesn't use his lower half all that much when he pitches. Very much an upper body pitcher. You see his lifetime numbers. He really burst on the scene with Seattle back in '99, a 17-game winner as a rookie. And in most years he would have been the Rookie of the Year in the American League. But in 1999, Kansas City had a rookie named Carlos Beltran who beat him out.
You see not a lot of push off the mound with his legs. You're absolutely right, Garrett.
And he misses with the breaking ball to Green, so it's a leadoff walk, and the Cardinals have their first base runner of the day. John Maine, Mike Pelfrey. Pelfrey pitched this afternoon in the game against Italy. Threw 29 pitches in 2 innings, threw only 8 balls, 4 strikeouts, no walks, gave up no runs and 1 hit. That's won that game over the Italian WBC team 5-4. Here is John Jay, who is DHing. The pitch outside, the throw to second, and it pops out of the mid of Reyes, and safe with a stolen base is Khalil Green. It almost had the function of a pitch out because Freddie Garcia missed so badly.
Well, Gary, you talked about Rivera having the strong arm. Look at that throw right there.
Second base umpire Mike Estabrook looked like he was preparing to call Green out had Reyes held the ball. So now a runner at second with nobody out. Anyway, it was very nice to go and watch that game today between the Mets and the Italian team, in part because the Italian team has a hitting coach named Mike Piazza. I got a chance to talk to Mike for 5 or 10 minutes today. He's living down here in Florida and loving life. Little girl's 2 years old. Got another one on the way.
Yeah, life changing. Mike played most of his career single. When you get married and have kids, boy, it is a whole new ball game, isn't it, Gary?
He said I'm the classic example of a guy who said, I never want kids, and now I've turned into mush. He said. That's a direct quote, by the way. Hit to right field. Got Church turned around. It's over his head and off the wall. In to score easily is Green. Jay heads to second, and he's in sliding with a double. So John Jay, who had nothing to do with the Federalist Papers, bangs one off the wall in right field.
Gets a fastball out over the plate. And nice play by Church here. Plays it off the wall beautifully. And look at the quick release. We all know about that. Strong arm. One of the quickest releases I've ever seen in an outfielder in Brian Church. And accurate. And a cannon.
So here is Joe Thurston, who's playing third base and batting ninth. Thurston, former big prospect with the Dodgers, who never quite panned out. Drags a bunt, but right at Delgado. That'll have the effect of a sacrifice, although Thurston was certainly bunting for a hit. 3 unassisted, moving Jay over to third. By the way, John Jay is the designated hitter in this game. The Mets are not using a DH today, but the Cardinals are. And obviously the Mets, who are, as the home team, have the right to dictate whether the DH is used or not, have to be okay with that. And so technically, if you care about who wins and loses the game, they're playing at a disadvantage. The infield back, accepted third base as Schumacher bounced it foul. I know when the Mets made it known that they were not going to use the DH all spring, Jimmy Leland, who's bringing the Tigers in here about a month from now, already made a phone call to ask Jerry to let him use a DH because he didn't feel his pitchers would be prepared to hit. But I'm not sure how it worked out that the Cardinals are using the DH today and the Mets aren't.
I'm sure it was a mutual agreement. And to me, these games aren't, they're not important. They don't count. It's not April. If you got an American League team, they want a DH, fine, go ahead.
Well, it brings up an interesting point, Keith, because, you're playing the game. And anytime you play the game, there's got to be the thought that you want to play well and you want to try and win, even if it doesn't count. So I guess the question is, how do you strike that balance? Forget about, as a manager, making up the rules as they go along, but as a player, how do you strike the balance between being competitive and the game not mattering?
Well, I think at this stage, there's 36 games in spring training this year because of the WBC. It's an extra long spring training. They learned their lesson from 4 years ago. That they need more time. All the players leave, and you need more time to get the cohesion of your team. Early in spring, you don't want to go 5-15, but it's really the last 10 days of spring when you start to want to try to get some momentum, Gary, and have it carry forth into April, hopefully.
Up the middle, Castillo with a nice diving stop. The throw too late as a run comes in. And it's 3-2, but that is a very encouraging play by Luis Castillo, who probably could not have gotten to that ball last year.
Well, he makes a great dive right here. You're right, Gary. And he's lost the way. Look at that. That's a lot of ground covered right there, and that is very nice to see. I don't know why Mr. Schumacher slid, but we've had that conversation before.
Well, all it takes is one time breaking your hand to cure you of that habit. So 2 runs are in for the Cardinals, and now Colby Rasmus up for the second time. Rasmus grounded out to second base his first trip. So after Levon Hernandez pitched 2 very easy innings, Freddie Garcia not finding as much success here in the 3rd.
You know, Freddie, you look at Freddie's statistics from last year. He pitched in Lakeland, and you know, you've got a 9+ year career and you're trying to get back in the big leagues, pitch your way back. He used to be a hard thrower, and having to pitch in Lakeland, it's a very humbling game. Dan Warthen.
And Rasmus takes a strike, 1-1. Tom Martin, the veteran left-hander, gets up again in the Mets bullpen. I would imagine they're going to try and limit Garcia's pitch count, so if he has a long inning, there's a chance he might not finish it. And he's struggling locating his fastball. It's 2-1.
You know, you talk about veteran pitchers, they get older, they've lost their fastball. It brings to mind, remember I faced Freddie Norman, the left-hander for the Reds, and he had good years with the Red Machine. And he didn't throw hard, and I remember I went to Lou Brock and I said, you know, Freddie can't break a pane of glass. And he said, Keith, around 7-8 years ago, he threw pretty hard. And you just don't realize when you're young that there are, you know, 35-year-old players out there that are still have learned to, when they've lost their fastball, they've had the ability to become control pitchers and compensate for their lack of velocity or their lost velocity.
Can a hitter do the same thing? In other words, when you lose bat speed as an older player, can you compensate in other ways to be successful?
I think you have to guess a little more. When you lose your bat speed, you're going to get beat more inside. There comes a time when it's the end of the road for you, but I think the hitters that are smart, that gets around the league, if they're pitching in, you got to look in.
So you're guessing and cheating a little more than you would when you're young.
You're looking area more. That's supposed to be the way I would do it. But I've known a lot of guys that would look breaking ball. I would never really like to look for a breaking ball. I like to gear on the fastball and adjust to the breaking ball.
Colby Rasmus at the plate. Albert Pujols on deck. Rasmus had a good spring for the Cardinals last year at age 21, and some thought he might even begin the year in the major leagues, but went back down to the minors and had really a lost season. Didn't hit well, and then he had a couple of major injuries, groin, knee problems, so he played only 90 games. But he is considered a can't-miss, five-tool kind of guy. Expected to be the Cardinals center fielder for many years to come. Two and two to Rasmus, and he pops this one up. Might be playable for right. David looking up in the sunshine, and he runs it down. Nicely done. That was not an easy play with that sun.
Well, he's right near the fence there. Everybody's clearing out of his way. And you can see the shadow right there, David's shadow. He was looking right into the sun. Nice.
You got a lot of elements there between the bullpen mounds and the stands and the sun.
I always hated bullpens on the field like they are here down the lines. Wrigley Field was the worst, because you go back for a pop-up, and Wrigley Field is not that big a park. You go back for a pop-up down the right field line. I've tripped over that mound more than a few times in the course of my 17 years, because your eyes are up, you don't know the mound's coming, and all of a sudden you got an incline and you just go right to the ground.
In fact, at Wrigley, until I think it was last year, the incline actually went into fair territory. The line itself had a little hump in it, but they finally flattened that out. Here's Pujols, and he takes ball two.
All you kids out there that want to watch a hitter, and no wasted motion. This is a power hitter, and obviously he hit 350, 7 last year. This is no wasted motion in his swing. His take back, his hands are in a hitting position, and it's just a little take back and right to the ball. You know, Pujols is of the new school, a lot of spread open stance. I mean, by spread, I mean his legs are far apart, and it's more upper body. The guys are so strong today. You see more and more guys that really have their feet far apart, hardly any stride, and it's for balance. But you better be strong upstairs to get away with that.
And he drives one deep, but foul. That ball saw a lot of the complex.
See the short stride? Look at that. Just hardly any take back. Look at the beautiful balance. I wish we had a telestrator. Look at that. It's like a golf swing.
You have an oral telestrator.
He looks like he's dropped some weight. He looks like he's maybe dropped 10 pounds. A little thinner in the face.
He's maturing. 2-2. Garcia misses, ball 3. So it's been a struggle for Freddie Garcia here in the third. A leadoff walk. A booming double by Jay that drove in a run. So Schumacher will take off with 3-2 and 2 down. And he walked him. So the second walk of the inning. And the Cardinals have 2 men on for Rick Ankiel. It's 29 pitches already in the inning. I thought perhaps they were going to take Garcia out and bring in the left-hander, but Martin has now sat down. So Ankiel will face Garcia. Grounded out to first base his first trip. Last year, Rick Ankiel's career came full circle. 25 home runs in his first full year as a big league outfielder. Making it all the way back to the major leagues after having his pitching career wash out. Off speed pitch misses, and it's 1-1.
Hey, Mike Shannon, Cardinal third baseman. Oh, my hair's gone. Thanks. I'm Marine. I'm toughing up. How you been? You look great. Mike, of course, when I came up in, what, 74, Mike, when Jack Buck were the 2 voices of the Cardinals, along with Jay Randolph. Really?
You guys have been around a long time.
Of course, Mike was there in '64 in the World Series when they beat the Yankees. Did you hit a home run in that series? That's right, you did. I remembered that. And, of course, '67.
There's a famous picture of Mike Shannon climbing the outfield fence for a Mickey Mantle home run that it eluded him by a few feet. 3-1 to Ankiel. And to the first strike, and it's 3-2.
All you Met fans that ever go to St. Louis and watch the Mets play the Cardinals, Mike's got a terrific restaurant downtown, right across the street from the ballpark. Nice wine list.
Great
good food.
Great place to go after a game. On 3-2, and Garcia issues another walk. This is a painful outing for Freddie Garcia. His third walk of the inning. And Dan Warthen will head out to the mound. And Tom Martin will get up in the bullpen again. That's 3 times up already for Martin. It's a lot early in a spring training game. So Garcia having trouble finding the strike zone. And I know it's only February 27th, and you don't worry too much about a guy having a bad outing. But it's got to be frustrating when you're trying to win a job to go out there and have no command. Especially when the guy you're competing with just went out there and threw 2 perfect innings.
Yep.
So now Yadier Molina with the bases loaded and 2 out. 2 runs already in for the Cardinals. Molina lined out to Church in right field his first trip. And he lines one down the left field line. Foul. Just foul. That ball hits the chalk. It clears the bases.
Well, that's 2 balls ripped down the left field line. Pujols hit a bomb foul earlier in this inning. Let's see how far. Whoa, not much. Yep, ran a foot. That's all it takes.
Schumacher is at third, Pujols at second, and Keel at first with 2 out. Molina coming off a terrific offensive year in which he hit over 300. And of course, a tremendous defensive catcher as well. Wasn't known much for his power until one October night at Shea Stadium.
I had a hunch you were going to bring that up.
Still rankles, you know.
It was shocking.
At least Darren Howman doesn't have to hear about it anymore. Now that he's moved to Seattle, to Chicago, and it's under the glove of right, and that'll bring home a couple more runs. Schumacher and Pujols score to make it 4-3 St. Louis. So David Wright looking to just pick up that short hop and take it to the third base bag. Had to elude him.
I think he just took his eye off this ball before he caught it. Right before he caught it. Tried to make the tag of the force out with the tag before he had the ball. You know, as an infielder, and that's going to be all for Freddie. And as an infielder, Gary, you just hate to do that. For someone who's trying to make the ball club, you hate to make an error behind them.
So Garcia's afternoon comes to an end. Tom Martin will come on to try and finish out the inning. Meanwhile, on the back fields, Kevin Burkhardt is standing by with some of the Mets' future.
Yeah, there's a lot of those guys out here, Gary. It's called the STEP program, spring training early program for the Mets. They have about 20 of their top prospects out here before the rest of the minor leaguers get here to work out. And they're just out there stretching, getting ready to go today. I'm joined by one of the Mets' high draft picks from last year, was taken in the first round from South Carolina, Reese Havens, a shortstop. Good to see you again, my friend.
Yeah, you too. Great to see you.
You know, I know you were in Brooklyn last year, and a tough year for you. You had some injury stuff with an elbow and a groin, and you kept trying to come back, and it just never happened for you. I think you played like 23 games. How frustrating was that for you? You know, you get signed, you're ready to go, and you just can never get healthy that year.
Yeah, it was definitely frustrating. You know, I played 3 years, and I missed, I think, 1 game in college, so I'm always pretty healthy, and didn't take long to sign. Came out, was ready to play, and you know, had some injuries that I couldn't get over, and you know, kept reoccurring. So it was definitely frustrating, but I'm 100% now.
What did you get out of the experience in Brooklyn? I know you would have liked to play more, but just as far as playing in the city and being around the guys, what did you take from that?
It was a great experience. You know, definitely a lot more media up in New York, and you know, even in Brooklyn. And had a bunch of great guys on the team, a great atmosphere. Fans know what they're talking about, and definitely loud. We hit 6,000 to 8,000 people a night, so it was a good turnout.
This is already like your 4th interview with SNY. I mean, you're pretty savvy with the TV thing already, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know why y'all keep picking me. I didn't think I was this good at it.
Well, give the fans an idea of what you're doing today. I already mentioned it's called the STEP program, but what's an average day like for you getting to the park and what you do? You're just coming out to work out now. What are you doing the rest of the day from the time you get here?
They're all pretty long days. We get here at 8 in the morning and have a classroom setting until noon. get a bite to eat, and stretch around 12:45, and it's all baseball from 12:45 until about 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
And what kind of, when you're out here doing drills, are you doing normal stuff? You taking live BP, or what type of situations are you doing out here right now?
Well, they're usually splitting us up in the position in position players and pitchers, and position guys will work on some defensive drills and then take around to BP, go get a lift in, and take it home.
What's your mindset? You know the guys here in this camp are obviously thought of highly by this team. So what is your mindset as one of those guys going forward, looking to this year and to, hopefully being on the pro team, on the big team?
It's an honor to be invited early here, and we got a bunch of guys that can play and are, pretty much if you're invited to this camp, they're looking for good leaders in the program and getting some guys here early, getting some work so they're ready to go for spring training games. So it's definitely an honor to get invited early, and I think we're all excited about that.
Look forward to following you in the minor leagues this year, Reese, no doubt. Thanks for the time, all right?
All right, thank you, Kevin.
Battling a little bit of cold, but Reese Havens sticking with it. Guys, let's go back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Kevin. Meanwhile, Tom Martin trying to get the final out here in the top of the third. The 38-year-old lefty facing Chris Duncan. The runner goes, no throw by Rivera, throw back to third, and diving back in is Ankiel. So Molina took off, trying to draw a throw. He steals second. And now two in scoring position with two out.
These are your typical Cardinal teams, always applying pressure.
Duncan, the ninth man up in the inning. Khalil Green, who led off the inning with a walk, is now on deck. And he struck him out with a fastball, so Tom Martin comes in to put an end to the inning. But the Cardinals score 4 off Freddie Garcia and lead it 4-3. Josh Kinney comes on to pitch for the Cardinals as we go to the bottom of the third. Kinney, you'll remember, pitched very well against the Mets in the League Championship Series in '06 and then missed most of the last 2 seasons following Tommy John surgery. And making his return this year, and he is in a rather crowded mix for the Cardinals closer's job, with Jason Isringhausen having moved on. They've got 2 very young, hard-throwing pitchers named Chris Perez and Jason Mott, who are the prime candidates for the job, but Kinney has a shot at it as well. Fernando Martinez will bat for the pitcher. Fernando still limited to DH duties. In fact, he DH'd this morning in the game against the Italian team and went 0 for 4 and gets a pinch hitting assignment here in the bottom of the third. And he takes ball 1. Casey Fossum, the slender left-hander, up in the Mets bullpen, set to pitch the next inning. So the Mets putting the 5th starter job out for grabs today. And certainly early, Livan Hernandez looking far better than Freddie Garcia. It won't be long before Tim Redding can get on the mound. Redding had a little shoulder soreness, just trying to do too much too quickly coming back after toe surgery. But Redding should be able to pitch sometime next week. And he is also right in that mix. The other candidate for that 5th starter job is John Neese, whom we saw last year. But I'd have to think that Neese would have to completely obliterate the field in order to win that job. Otherwise, probably better off going back to AAA.
Well, he's got those dreaded options, and he's young. I've always been one not to rush guys up.
Speaking of young, Fernando Martinez is 20 years old, still trying to put together a healthy season. There are your 5th starter candidates and what they did last year.
I really like Redding's stuff, and what I've seen him pitch.
It was a good portion of the season in Washington where he was the best pitcher on that staff.
And another reason why Omar picked him up was that he's a Philly killer. He has fared well against the Phillies.
Fits right in with Oliver Perez. In at the feet of Martinez, and it's 3-2.
Oh boy.
Well, there are those minor leaguers in that step program that Kevin was talking about with Reese Havens. There are certain tableaus that just scream out spring training, and that's one of them.
When you have all those bodies out there, wait till there's ball 4 right there. When you have when all the bodies come out to spring training, all the players get there. There are so many people that've got to pitch, have got to take batting practice in the course of the day, and they make for the longest days. Some are in roadies and some are in whites, as you see,
and blue. Well, that's a coach.
So our minor league uniforms and the Cardinals coming up with those old woolies that itched, and oh gosh, they were awful.
You wore a flannel uniform?
Yes.
You go back to flannel?
Yes, I do. I'm older than you now.
Yeah. I mean, I wore flannel uniforms in Little League, but gosh,
they were brutal.
It's Big East basketball on SNY. Jamie Dixon's #1 ranked Panthers head to Newark to clash with the Pirates at the Rock Pit at Seton Hall. Coverage begins with the City pregame Saturday at 8 p.m. right here on SNY. Pitt #1, but they lost earlier this week to Providence. #1 is not a healthy state of being in college basketball this year.
You're going back up north. You got a game to do?
I've got that game tomorrow night. You hear that crunch?
I did.
It's a great sound, isn't it? Cleats on gravel. Two 2-0 to Reyes as Kinney is having trouble throwing strikes, and he falls behind 3-0. Did you ever put on spikes in the offseason?
Oh no.
So what's it like when you wear them for the first time during the spring?
Well, you always save your spikes from the last season, the ones you finished with. And you can go through around 4 pairs of spikes in the course of a season. There was more AstroTurf fields, so you kind of burned through them faster. You have to break in your shoes, and that was always a pain, a royal pain, because you invariably get blisters. And because of the kangaroo hide, which will stretch and mold to your foot, you always have to get a size smaller. I'm a 12. I actually wore a 10.5, a size and a half, so they're really compressed. And then the kangaroo leather kind of, when you break it in, it'll mold to your foot because you don't want any slippage in your spike when you're a player. You want to have it fit you like a glove, but as a result, 10.5 to a size 12 that I was, you just got blisters.
3-1 to Reyes, and he walked him, so Kinney issues back-to-back walks to start the bottom of the third after Garcia walked 3 in the top of the third. And so the Mets have 2 men on with Delgado coming up. One thing I've always noticed about players is that they will do anything to avoid wearing their spikes.
I would wear my spikes. I would take BP with the rubbers, the knobs, the knobbies. We played on turf in St. Louis, and I wouldn't wear the spikes in the batter's box in BP.
But even in New York?
Even in New York, I would. You were able to dig in enough. But I tell you one thing I did. I would wear that spike as long as I could, even when the spikes got whittled down to little nubs.
Delgado takes a breaking ball for a strike. Martinez and Reyes drawing back-to-back walks to start the inning. Delgado singled up the middle his first time up. Carlos now 3 for 4 to start the spring. Yesterday had 2 opposite field hits. One that he meant to hit the other way, the other that he might not have.
The old breaking ball, a good slider down and in right here. And that's a tough pitch to hit.
struck him out with a slider. So Kinney gets Delgado for the first out of the inning.
Another hard slider gave Carlos 3 straight breaking balls.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Bud Light Lime, the drinkability of Bud Light with the refreshing taste of lime. Here's David Wright, who struck out his first time up. Mets got 3 in the bottom of the second. Cardinals responded with 4 in the top of the third. The Mets trying to come right back, getting the first 2 men on here in the bottom of the third, trailing 4-3. David takes ball 1. David, one of 11 players on in Major League camp who will be heading to the World Baseball Classic. Most of the guys will be leaving on Sunday to join their national teams. They're going to work out in and maybe an exhibition game. I think the first actual games in the WBC are next Thursday. Puerto Rican team is heading home to play the first round. There's a lot of travel going on for these guys in March. I mean, their games going on in Tokyo.
I'm glad it didn't happen in my day.
You wouldn't have wanted the chance to play for your country?
I would not have wanted to play. Nope. Olympics, a different story.
3-0 to Wright, and he walked him. So 3 walks by Kinney, and the bases are loaded with 1 out for Beltran. Well, I'll say this: I love the idea of the WBC as Dave Duncan takes a visit out to the mound. I think if I had to do it, I would expand the All-Star break to maybe 7 or 8 days and play it then instead of the All-Star game. Just have a double elimination tournament over the course of 7 or 8 days. Do it in 3 or 4 different cities for a week in July when everybody's in shape, and not try and force feed it, shoehorn it into March when you have more danger of guys getting hurt.
Then you got the problem of, you know, what managers moan and groan right now. Don't throw my starters in the All-Star game. And now you're going to have a game for playing for your country, and you're going to say, okay, you're going to tell Venezuela not to pitch, you know, Santana. I mean, are they going to juggle? Suppose the rotation turns out where Santana pitches the last game for the All-Star break, and he can't pitch. He wouldn't be able to pitch.
Right.
It's problematic.
There are certainly drawbacks to whenever you play it. The problem is that, you know, this early in the spring, you have pitchers who should be on relatively low pitch counts, and then, you know, you've got national pride at stake, and there's always the chance of guys trying to do too much. Beltran takes a breaking ball for a strike. Of course, the other option would be to play it right after the World Series.
That would be more, to me, that would be the best scenario.
But then you've got guys who didn't make the postseason who will have sat out for a month. So I guess there's never a perfect time. But this one just doesn't seem like the overall best idea. 0-2 to Beltran, who singled to right his first time up.
I mean, I know Jerry put the good spin on it, as you know, as far as losing his player. This is about getting ready for the season. The Major League season is the most important thing. Should be the focus of the players.
And Beltran can't get the breaking ball, and so Kinney has his second strikeout, and now there are 2 out.
Well, he's gone to the well on his backdoor slider there, got it up. Carlos out in front. Got Delgado on breaking balls, got Beltran on breaking balls.
So it's left to Riot Church, who hit a long double to right center to drive in a run his first time up. Well, the Mets are very supportive of the whole idea of the WBC. They've got they've got a very international team, and are very intent on continuing their access to the best players from around the world, and I think that very much feeds into the concept of the WBC.
I think,
and I think a lot of the players really enjoy it. The guys who played the first time around, they like the experience of playing with that kind of nationalist fervor. Church lifts one to left. Back goes Duncan. He's got room. And that ends the inning. So Kinney survives 3 walks, and the Mets strand 3. We head to the 4th at Port St. Lucie, 4-3 St. Louis.
Welcome back to the outer fields here at the complex of Tradition Field in Port St. Lucie. I'm Kevin Burkhardt. On the big field, the Cardinals are leading the Mets 4-3, but this has got the spring training feel. All the Mets' top prospects are here, and I'm standing next to one of them, a very tall, very big Brad Holt. How you doing, man?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Brad Holt, of course, for those of you who don't know, the Mets supplemental pick in the first round of UNC Wilmington. Did I get that one right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. You had a great year in Brooklyn last year. You struck out 95 batters in 72 innings. The secret to success for you was?
I mean, there's no secret. I just being up there, I learned a lot working with Hector every day. I mean, I worked on the breaking ball and the changeup, and both of those came along real well, and they both had a big part of the success that I had up there. And I mean, just going throughout the year, working through pins in each game. I mean, they developed. I mean, they came along incredible.
How about playing in New York? I mean, you weren't playing at Shea last year, but you're playing in Brooklyn in front of you had 8,000 people a game at that place.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, they had big crowds every night. Fans were awesome. I mean, it was a great experience. It was definitely something that I wasn't used to coming from college. I mean, it was definitely a lot bigger crowd, and I mean that makes it a lot better playing in front of big crowds like that.
I didn't get a chance to see you pitch in Brooklyn, but I did see you throw a bullpen the other day, and it was fun to watch if you like watching a fastball. Give me an update. I know we talked last year about your secondary stuff. What do you currently throw? What are you working on? Give me an idea about that.
I mean, pretty much the same thing that I was working on this summer. I mean, still working on the breaking ball. I've been working on the changeup a lot more so I can get a feel for it. And, I mean, it's coming along great. And I mean, it's just like the breaking ball. The more you throw it, I mean, the better feel you got, and the better chance you got to throw it for strikes more.
Who helps you with that right now? Who is there a coach or a player that's helping you with that?
I mean, there's a couple of guys down here. I mean, I've been working with Valdez and Rick Waits on it. Whenever I came down here early. I was working with Hector some and Nemo, and I mean, having all them help me, it's been coming along great.
You know, there's been some chatter, not necessarily in the organization, just people talking about a reliever for you. I mean, do you see yourself as a starter, or do you say, hey, well, Jabba Chamberlain did it, whatever it takes? How do you view yourself?
I mean, honestly, as long as I'm throwing, as long as I'm on the mound playing in the game, I don't really, it doesn't matter what role I'm in. I mean, it's all the same. You're throwing to hitters, you're in the game, you're pitching, so as long as I'm throwing, it's good.
That media coaching is working, guys. Do you see? The step camp, it's working. Let me ask you this. The guys were talking about the different uniforms. There's different, everybody seems to have a different color uniform. Is there a reasoning for that?
I don't know if there's a reason behind it. They just got the position guys in gray and pitchers staying white.
Well, that's a good enough reason. Good enough reason. What are you looking, last question, what are you looking for this spring out of you? What's your goal this spring?
Just getting the off-speed down packed, being able to throw everything for strikes, and so I can locate all 3 pitches, and then it'll help me succeed a little better, I guess.
Well, you succeeded in this interview. Good to see you again, Brad.
Appreciate it.
Be good. Good luck. We see you. We'll look forward to following you in the minors, okay?
I appreciate it.
Guys, Brad Holt, if you had a chance to see him throw a bullpen, it's a lot of fun. He dominated last year. Hopefully he does it again. Back to you.
And before you know it, Kevin, Brad will be interviewing you.
That's true. That's true.
We're taking a page out of John Main's book. I thought John did a nice job with that yesterday.
I thought he was wonderful. John, a very soft-spoken guy, too. He have a future.
He's getting a little louder all the time. Joe Thurston grounds one down to Delgado. Casey Fossum has come on and pitched himself a 1-2-3 inning. That's a nice contrast after the last inning. Still 4-3 St. Louis. Hard-throwing Jason Mott takes over the pitching for St. Louis, and he throws the first pitch by Marlon Anderson.
Jeez, it's like Gagne.
Yes, he does. Jason Mott, who grew up in upstate New York, Montgomery, New York, and then pitched at Iona College in New Rochelle. He was a catcher, and you could tell from his motion, much like Henry Owens yesterday, he kind of short arms the ball like a catcher. There's Connor Robertson up in the Mets bullpen. But Mott came up late last season and was very impressive. Pitched 11 innings for the Cardinals late last year, allowed 5 hits, 3 walks, 16 strikeouts. So he gets out there and he just fires. They're trying to figure out what his second pitch is going to be. Right now he's basically a one-pitch guy.
He's a nervous wreck out there, isn't he? He's all...
Well, he's got the glasses and the beard and the hair.
He's got all the gyrations.
Come on, he ain't a pitcher. He ain't a pitcher.
Very impressive goatee there.
Come on.
Marlin grounded his short his first time up, and he wastes one away.
He is throwing hard, Mont, that's for sure. He can't stay still.
And why should he? 1-2 to Anderson. He throws a slider and missed with it. 2-2.
He can't even drive 60 miles an hour.
He's got the uniform pants like Jonathan Broxton of the Dodgers. Grounded out to short, and the little green throws out Anderson. You know, a daggy all the way down to the shoe tops.
Yes, Pigpen. Yep, I never liked that look. Did you, Gare? The pajama look?
Well, it's become fashionable in some circles, and who am I to be a judge on fashion? I mean, I don't even watch Project Runway.
It doesn't affect performance, but he's got a beautiful pair of striped socks underneath those pants.
How can you tell? Rene Rivera lifts one to center field, and Ankiel, shading his eyes, stays with it for the second out. So Mott gets 2 quick outs. Come on home for the inaugural season at Citi Field with 2009 Mets season tickets. Get to Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX now to be a part of the new home of amazing with your 2009 Mets season tickets. Operators are standing by. Luis Castillo up for the 3rd time. He's at a comebacker and flied out. Mets down 4-3 as they bat in the bottom of the 4th. P.J. Walters, the right-hander, up in the Cardinal bullpen. 2-0 to Castillo. And Mott throws a fastball for a strike.
You know, when you're in spring training early, even no matter how hard they throw, this is the kind of pitcher you'd like to face when you're trying to get your groove. Someone that throws 95% fastballs, doesn't mix in a wrinkle. You'd rather, I don't care how hard they throw, you'd rather face that.
So Mike Pelfrey throwing this morning in that B game, and I think he threw 27 of 29 pitches fastballs. And really that's what most established pitchers will do early in the spring, work on their fastball first. Yep. There's Mike this morning, and the hitters for the Italian national team a little overmatched.
Taking a lot.
The only time Pelfrey got hurt was one pitch he got up in the zone. He gave up an opposite field hit. Castillo goes down, so Mott pitches a 1-2-3 inning. We've played 4 now in Port St. Lucie, and the Mets down by a run.
We continue our look into some of the Mets' top prospects here out back on the backfields of Tradition Field, and it's really kind of neat when you look at some of these guys we're talking to, and none more intriguing than this guy. This is Wilmer Flores, who is a 17-year-old shortstop out of Venezuela, and Wilmer has a translator with me. It's Ronnie Reyes going to help out. Wilmer speaks English, a little nervous. I got to tell you guys, when I was 17, I wouldn't be able to do a TV interview, but this is a guy that's looked upon so highly in the organization. As you can see, he's very tall, great range, a lot of great things. And Wilmer, I wanted to ask you, how excited are you to be here in this camp?
Bueno, eso es algo que yo quería hacer chiquito, es algo excitante estar aquí, ya que los Nueva York me invitaron
¿sabes? Es un orgullo estar aquí para mí porque mi familia quería que yo estuviera aquí y yo desde pequeño quise estar aquí también.
It's always been his dream to be here. He's very excited about being here, and him and his family are very proud to be here. And he's glad that the Mets invited him to this camp.
You know, as I said, you're 17 years old. Is that hard, so hard to be from Venezuela, so far away from home?
Es bien duro estar lejos de su familia, lejos de sus amigos, ¿sabes? Y son cosas que uno tiene que pasar y para llegar a lo que quiere. Pero, o sea, mi familia me apoya, mi amigo me apoya, tengo mi familia, mi mamá, mi papá, que me apoyan en todo. Y ellos quieren que yo esté aquí y ellos me están apoyando en eso.
Okay, it's quite difficult being away from his family and being here. He's had a tough time in the transition, but he's got the support of his family and his friends, and he misses them very much, but he's glad to be here, though.
Is it inspiring when you see Johan Santana and Francisco Rodriguez on the big team? Does that make you feel good?
Claro, me hace sentir bien eso porque tengo gente de Venezuela aquí, ¿sabes? Y eso no me hace sentir tan solo, ¿me entiendes? Y es bien que ellos estén aquí para mí.
He loves having his countrymen here, and he's happy. It's an inspiration to have them here, and he doesn't feel alone when he's here because he has those guys here.
Well, Wilmer, thanks for the time. You did just fine, and good luck this year, okay? We appreciate it. There we go. Wilmer Flores, guys. He's already drawn some comparisons to Miguel Cabrera. That's the type of talent that he has. Again, he's 17 years old. Think about that. 17-year-old kid with all this talent from Venezuela, so far away from everyone, handling himself quite well. Let's go back to you.
Yeah, he is an incredible prospect. Really burst on the scene last year as a 16-year-old. He was playing in Kingsport in the Appalachian League, and he made such an impression there that an opposing manager walked him with runners at first and second. Imagine that, a 16-year-old?
Are you kidding?
Yeah. Casey Fossum with a good curveball strikes out Colby Rasmus for the second out. So Wilmer Flores, a guy to keep your eye on, and some of the young Mets farm hands were out signing autographs for some young fans earlier today and making their names known and spreading some goodwill before they reach the big league level. Here's Albert Pujols up for the third time. You know, I think it's great that they're doing this for the young players, all the things that they do to get kids acclimated to professional baseball these days. As Pujols picks up his first hit of the afternoon, a 2-out single. You know, there were days, particularly with the young Latin players, that they would come here and they wouldn't get English instruction. They wouldn't get any instruction on how to handle their finances and handle the media and handle the fame. And now organizations, especially the Mets, who are so committed to the international player, have a system in place just to try and make it easier for guys to make the adjustment from coming like a Wilmer Flores all the way from Venezuela as a 16-year-old to be able to survive.
Well, my roommate in the minor leagues was Hector Cruz, who was from Puerto Rico, and
Keel hits one up the middle, hops past Castillo. On to third goes Pujols, and so back-to-back 2-out hits for the Cardinals. Both runners at first and third.
Well, there's a ball again hit to the right of Castillo. And you really got to remember that Ankiel came up as a pitcher. And for him to come around and you see Pujols, one thing the Cardinals always do, they play aggressive baseball. They take the extra base. But Ankiel, I'm sorry, it's tough to hit, let alone pitch, and then to come up a pitcher and then completely start from scratch and do what he's done offensively. That is just incredible. But getting back to language barriers, and Hector Cruz, who spoke fairly good English. We were roommates for 2 years in the minor leagues and 1 year in the majors. And I was kind of like helped him learn the language. If he made mistakes in grammar, I was there to correct him, and that's what he wanted. He wanted to perfect the language, which he eventually did.
Did you ever think of going into business as an English teacher?
Oh, sure. Just what I want to do. I'd have to join the teachers union.
Molina lines it right at Reyes to end the inning. You can just see you in the NEA. We've come halfway, 4-3.
When you started your baseball career, did you ever dream you'd be wearing the uniform of 4 different New York teams?
My goodness, no, but I knew where New York City was because I had a geography that had New York when I was born in Kansas City, Missouri, and I'll tell you the truth. I realized after I was 10 years of age that they had major league clubs, and I certainly wanted to get to New York, but I never thought I'd be so successful.
That, of course, the great Casey Stengel, along with Lindsey Nelson from the Mets' first spring training in 1962. Daniel Murphy, pinch hitting, leads off in the bottom of the 5th against P.J. Walters. That just brings back unbelievable memories. Just, you know, seeing Casey and the way he would make vast use of the English language. And also Lindsey Nelson, one of my heroes growing up, one of the original 3 Met broadcasters. Schumacher throws out Murphy for the first out.
He can't pitch.
Were you good at? Did you have a Casey Stengel imitation when you were a kid growing up? Did you try to mimic him?
No.
How about Lindsey?
No, Lindsey had that rapid-fire Tennessee delivery. I don't think I could have quite. I was more a Marv Albert guy.
Well, you know what I remember Lindsey from, because I was on the West Coast, and that was Sunday morning at 8 o'clock on the West Coast.
The Notre Dame?
Yes.
Reyes drives one to right center, and a great diving catch by Ankiel takes away an extra base hit. Oh, there's a spectacular play for the former pitcher, now outfield.
Well, just a great athlete. We talked about him coming up as a pitcher, and he's playing center field, and look at that play. That robs Reyes of a triple right there. Lindsey used to go, he's down the 40, the 45, the 50, the 25-yard line.
And now after an exchange of punts, let's move ahead to further action. Because they condensed the games into an hour. It was Lindsey Nelson and Paul Hornung.
Well, the worst thing about those games back then was that Notre Dame was always playing Purdue or Northwestern. They were just blowouts.
Yep. There's Delgado with 2 out. And he takes a slider for a strike.
And then following the Notre Dame hour of that condensed game, they had John Ralston and the Stanford Indians back then. They had their highlights.
Very interesting that you saw those games on Sunday morning on the West Coast. In New York, they showed them at 11 o'clock or midnight on Saturday night.
We got them in the next morning.
Well, it took a while to get the tape out west. You know, things didn't move quite as fast in those days. Had to ship the tapes by Pony Express.
There was nothing much to watch on TV on Sunday before you went out. So it was 8 o'clock in the morning. Mom made breakfast, and it was just kind of fun to.
Didn't you have roller derby?
The Bay Area Bombers.
Yeah, Charlie
O'Connell, right?
Mike Weston, the fastest man on skates. Ooh. And Delgado takes one in the back. So he'll go down to first base, and the Mets have a 2-out base runner.
Got it on the elbow, I believe. Oh, that got him on the elbow.
Oh, you're right. Couldn't tuck that elbow in tight enough. So the tying run at first with 2 out, and David Wright coming up. David has struck out and walked this afternoon.
Come on.
Cardinals using their 4th pitcher, P.J. Walters, out of the University of South Alabama. Well, the Met regulars getting a lot of innings early in spring training. Delgado and Wright and Beltran and Reyes all heading off to the World Baseball Classic next week. Valve at the plate, and it's 1-1. David and Chipper Jones are going to be the 3rd baseman for the American team. That's a tough call in terms of playing time. Of course, you got. Well, he's waiting for the World Baseball Classic.
I hope there's not any Met fans back home. Broadcast putting people to sleep.
And don't think he's watching our broadcast since he's in the stands, right?
Yes.
If he were listening to our broadcast, he'd be more wide awake.
You think?
Well, you'd keep him up.
Well, I hope there's not a dad at home falling asleep in front of the TV.
Nobody falls asleep on you, Keith, because they just want to know what you're going to say.
I'm very sedate today, actually.
But you're not sedating.
So I have a week off, too. I don't have a game till, I forget, way in the next week.
Really?
Yeah. Ronnie takes over.
I've got 2 weeks off. Kevin's going to fill that.
Come on! You can't
That's
catch.
right. I'm going to work with Kevin.
We've been working so hard the last 2 days.
You have 8 games in the spring, right?
Something like that, yes.
We don't work again together as a threesome until the Boston
City Field.
I am looking
First
so
game
much
at City Field.
I am so much looking forward to that Boston series Friday night and Saturday day.
April 3rd and 4th as Wright lifts one to right field, and Rasmus drifting toward the line and puts an end to the inning. 5 in the books now in Port St. Lucie. Still a 1-run game. Cardinals in front. Don't mean to rub it in, but it's a beautiful day here in South Florida. Temperature in the upper 70s. Connor Robertson will be the 5th Met pitcher of the afternoon. Mets picked him up from Arizona when they dealt away Scott Schoenweiss in the offseason. So his minor league numbers there. He also got into a handful of games with the Diamondbacks. Also pitched in Oakland 2 years ago. Alex Cora comes in to play second base, so Luis Castillo gets the rest of the day off. Chris Duncan leads off for the Cardinals in the 6th inning. Cards leading 4-3, and Duncan grounds the first pitch right to Alex Cora. Welcome to the game, Alex. 1 pitch and 1 out. So Duncan retired. And it'll bring up Khalil Green. Green got the Cardinals' 4-run inning started in the 3rd. Walked, stole a base, scored a run, then hit the ball hard in the 4th and lined out to Beltran in center field.
Green looking for a rebirth in St. Louis.
Hit just .213 for the Padres last year with a .260 on base percentage. You're not going to find many regular players in the major leagues with a .260 on base percentage. He's got some power, but he hit just 10 home runs for San Diego last year. It's this one to left, and Marlon Anderson ambling in. So quickly 2 out. It'll bring up John Jay, who doubled in a run back in the 3rd.
One more time. One more time.
And there's a nice big hop for Alex Cora. So Robertson comes in, throws 4 pitches, and gets 3 outs. That's efficiency, fellas. Middle of the 6th in Port St. Lucie, 4-3 Cardinals. Changes for the Cardinals as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Alan Craig is now playing first base. Jared Hoffpower is at second as Carlos Beltran fouls it off. There's Mr. Hoffpower. Khalil Green comes out, and Tyler Green, same spelling, goes in to play shortstop. And Brian Barden is at third. Not to be confused with Brian Barton. That's him playing left field. I think that's very confusing. You've got one Green replacing another Green, and Brian Barden and Brian Barton. What happens if they collide? The breaking ball by P.J. Walters had Beltran badly fooled, 1-2.
Well, if they collide, Gary, I'm sure you would handle it with your usual aplomb.
What does aplomb really mean? And why is it spelled that way? 1-2 to Beltran with Church to follow, and the breaking ball misses outside. There is Church. And he got Beltran, so he good collection of off-speed stuff, and P.J. Walters has his first strikeout.
Throws an excellent change. Look at the sinker. Ball sinks.
Adam Bostic, the lefty, up in the Mets bullpen. As Ryan Church gets set for his third at bat. Double to right center to drive in a run of the second, then flied out to left field to end the third. And there's a strike, 0-1. You know, I saw the name Jared Hoffpower going into play second base for the Cardinals, and I figured he had to be related to Micah Hoffpower, right?
He's not.
He's not. As Walters throws out Church for the second out. He does have a brother in the Mariners organization, Josh Hoffpower, but Micah Hoffpower, remember, introduced himself rather rudely to the Mets that last week of the season last year for the Cubs. But I guess somehow the Hoffpowers, Jared and Micah, are not related. To do a little more investigation on that. I mean, how many Hoffpowers could there be? Spelled that way. Hoffpauir.
You go, Sherlock.
Is that a familiar?
You go investigate.
Have to Google it. 1-0 to Marlon Anderson, who twice has grounded out to short.
Pretty impressive inning from Walters here.
Walters gave up a hard hit ball to Reyes in the fifth inning, got bailed out by Ankiel, who made a great diving grab. But otherwise, he's been very solid. And he gets the ground ball from Marlon Anderson. Nice easy hop for Jared Hoffpower, and a 1-2-3 inning for Walters. We played 6 now in St. Lucie. Mets down by a run. Weeknights at 6, Adam Shine and Chris Carlin raise the volume on the latest from the Mets, Yankees, and all things New York sports on Loudmouths. Weeknights at 6 only on SNY. Adam Bostic comes on to pitch for the Mets as we go to the 7th inning. Other changes as well, and we'll pick them up along the way. Bostic missed most of last year because of knee problems. One of the pitchers the Mets picked up when they dealt Matt Lindstrom to the Marlins a couple of years ago. Brian Barden batting for the first time. Took over at third base for Joe Thurston. And he takes the low and away 1-1. Here's Ramon Martinez now playing third base for the Mets. Nick Evans taking over at first base. He played in the morning game against Italy. Jose Coronado at shortstop. He also played this morning. So a long day for these guys. Corey Sullivan takes over in left field. And it's low and inside to Barden. And Bostic falls behind 3-1. And that's ball 4, so a leadoff walk. And Barden is aboard. Among the pitchers to work in this morning's game against Italy was Francisco Rodriguez, his first game against competition, opposing competition in a Mets uniform. Looked a little nervous out there, I have to say, when he first took the mound and missed with his first 3 or 4 breaking balls. Got a little upset with himself, but then dialed it up and blew some hitters away. Wound up pitching a hitless inning, walking 1 and striking out 2. He's going to be something else, I'm telling you. Fly ball to left field, and Corey Sullivan is there to put it away for the out. 62 saves last year. Imagine that.
It is amazing.
Talk about obliterating a record. It's 5 more than anybody else had ever had before. Here's Colby Rasmus. Rasmus is 0 for 3, has played the whole game in right field. And that one goes to the backstop. That'll move Barden down to second base.
Well, tough chance for Rivera here. Breaking ball way out of the strike zone.
That is Omar Santos, who's taken over behind the plate. It's hard to catch up sometimes.
I missed. I got everyone but him.
Oh, I'm sure we've missed a few more.
No, you're pretty good. You are Eagle Eye, Hawkeye.
That was Brandon Knight up in the bullpen, and another wild pitch. So Bostic throwing 2 in a row that Santos has had no chance on. And that moves Barton over to third.
Well, this fastball got away on the other half of the plate.
So the Mets will bring the infield in here, and Ramon Martinez, the veteran, will go over to the mound and try and do what he can to settle down Adam Bostic. Bostic got in only 10 starts last year in AAA because of the knee problems that ultimately sidelined him for the season. Had knee surgery in late May and didn't pitch again. So it's been a while since he's been in a competitive game. And he threw a good fastball there. 2-1 to Rasmus. One more change for the Mets. Angel Pagan has taken over in center. See, I told you we missed one, or I missed one. You probably knew Pagan was in center.
No, I didn't.
Bostic behind 3-1 on Rasmus, and he walked him. So 2 walks and 2 wild pitches for Adam Bostic here in the 7th inning. First and third, and 1 out, and Kevin Burkhardt is standing by. Where are you now, Kevin?
I'm back in the Mets dugout, guys, and I'm with you. We talked a lot about the young guys and the prospects. I'm with a guy who's still a prospect, although he got some big league time last year, is Bobby Parnell. And we were talking about the step camp, and how they have the prospects over there and some of the things that they do. You did that camp 2 years ago. How did it help you?
I mean, it was a great experience. You go over there and you learn a lot of stuff about how to deal with the media, and you go and practice in the afternoons, and just a lot of one-on-one time with the coaches.
Looking back at last year, what were your thoughts in the offseason? Obviously, you made it to the top. You got in some big league action. I mean, have to think it went pretty well for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a motivator. I got up there and had some good innings, and wanting to get back here in spring training and keep it going.
What is your goal here in spring training? I mean, you're a starting pitcher, but there is a bullpen spot to be had that your name is in the mix. So how do you look at yourself in this camp?
I went into spring training trying to get just some experience under my belt, some more experience, and like I said, keep the ball rolling and try to stay in the groove of pitching and seeing some hitters and learning some more hitters and trying to take it into the season, whether I make the team or not, just trying to learn something from it.
Right now the plan is you make the team as a reliever, great. If not, you're going to be a starter in AAA. Does that change how you do anything right now in spring?
No, right now, like I said, in being up here I'm going to be a reliever, so I'm going to take it as that mentality and go after hitters and try to just attack hitters.
With that, you've actually worked a little bit with J.J. Putz on a splitter. How much work have you done with that, and how serious is that?
Well, I've started throwing it probably about a week now, and J.J. really helped me out a lot with it. And, it's developing quick, and I feel like I'll be able to use it.
What do you need to do this camp? What else are you working on?
Just change up consistency, slider and fastball command.
What is the biggest challenge so far working with Putz and trying to learn that splitter? What's been the hardest thing so far? I know it's early, but
well, the splitter's a feel pitch. You have to really feel it, and you have to figure out what kind of grips work for you. And anytime you learn a new pitch, you have to take time and take it slow. So that's what I'm doing right now, is just trying to get the feel for it.
In spring training last year, yourself and Jonathan Neese, who kind of linked in a lot of people's eyes, you guys got valuable time starting on this mound here in front of the fans, and that is going to be a fair ball. Cardinals are going to add at least another run here, and they'll get another on the board to take a 5-3 lead. What did that experience, and then culminating that by getting on the big lead mound at the end of the year, what did that do for you confidence-wise?
Oh, it's a big booster, big-time booster. Come out here and put what I've learned to use, and to develop what I've done in the past and go with that. It's definitely helped.
Well, Bobby and Jonathan Neese will be making the call tomorrow in Lakeland. Our SNY cameras won't be there, but if you want to drive to Lakeland, you're more than welcome. So good luck tomorrow, Bob. Thanks for the time, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Keith, as a matter of fact, I think you should head out to Lakeland tomorrow on your off day. So enjoy, my friend.
Kevin, just stick to the interviewing.
Joker Marchand Stadium, it's a resort. You'll want to be there, Keith. I'll never forget Bobby Parnell last September coming into that first big league game in Washington with all the problems the Mets were having in their bullpen, and he just went out there with supreme confidence and dispatched them 1-2-3, and it just gave the Mets such a shot in the arm at that point in the season, and really told you a lot about Parnell and his makeup, that when everything else was crashing down, that he was able to keep his head and be so cool in his first big league outing.
Well, he's a very good he's a hard thrower, that's for sure. He's got a tremendous arm. Tall, lanky kid.
Alan Craig drove in a run with a base hit for the Cardinals. Ankiel batting with 2 men on against Adam Bostic. And Bostic throws a fastball for a strike, and it's 1-2. Bostic now 26 years old. Started out his career in the Marlins organization. Trevor Miller, who was in a World Series last year with Tampa Bay, up in the Cardinal bullpen. Pitched very well in the postseason for the Rays. Bounced out to the right side, giving ground as Cora has to make the play to first for the second out. So 2 away. It's the Mets, Yankees, and all things New York sports covered from every angle. Get all your latest sports news, highlights, and analysis from Geico's Sports Night every night at 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. right here on SNY. Brandon Knight is up in the Mets bullpen. Brandon was paid a high honor. His Olympic jersey from last year is going into the Hall of Fame, into their Olympic baseball display. Olympic baseball now a defunct sport, which is hard to believe. There's Yadier Molina, who's played the whole game, and he pops one foul out of play. And I wonder whether baseball will ever return to the Olympics.
I don't think so.
I guess that means you'll never get a chance to play.
Oh,
what you were talking about. You would play for the Olympic team.
I would have played for that. That would have been fun.
See, if they brought baseball back to the Olympics, maybe you could coach an Olympic team.
Come on, Adam. Come on.
It's okay.
That would be an entree. That would be an entree for you into coaching it.
I'll pass.
I mean, Davey's doing it.
I know. Well, Mike Piazza's doing it.
Right. Actually, that Italian team that was here today, Mike Hargrove is also on that staff as a coach. 2 in scoring position. 1-1 the count to Molina, who is 0 for 3 on the day. And it misses 2-1.
Mike Hargrove was the human rain delay, if you recall. Was a fine hitter with Cleveland. And he got traded over to San Diego the latter part of his career, and we just murdered him. He would step out, adjust all of his gloves, take 9 years.
Well, he was ahead of his time, because now there are dozens of guys who take as much time as Hargrove did. Foul down the left field line, 2-2.
And we'd yell at him, Mike, you're cutting into our cocktail hour. Get in the box.
Brian Barton on deck. 5-3 St. Louis. We're in the 7th. Livan Hernandez started this game for the Mets. Threw his hat securely in the ring for the number 5 starting job with 2 perfect innings. And Bostic misses low, but then Freddie Garcia struggled in 2/3 of an inning, giving up 4 runs. Tom Martin, Casey Fossum, and Connor Robertson followed with scoreless pitching. But now Bostic's been touched for a run here in the 7th. Lovely dining options here at Tradition Field.
And there'll be some lovely dining options at City Field.
Far more. 3-2. And he walked it. Oh, boy. Second time in this game that a Met pitcher has walked 3 in an inning. Garcia did that in the 3rd, and now Bostic has done it here in the 7th. And now the bases are loaded for Brian Barton. Barton, the rocket scientist from the University of Miami. I mean it.
I know.
Aerospace engineering major.
Yep.
Interned at Boeing in the satellite systems department. Barton pops one foul. Should be playable for Nick Evans, and he squeezes it to end the inning. So the Cardinals add a run. 7th inning stretch time in St. Lucie. 5-3 St. Louis.
Welcome back to Tradition Field at Port St. Lucie. I think you know the guy that stands next to me. It's David Wright, Mets third baseman, who won't be here for too much longer because after Sunday, you're off to the World Baseball Classic. But before we talk about that, let's talk about this camp and how I guess we'll start with how does that affect this camp? I mean, I know a lot of guys were here earlier. You're playing certainly longer into games at this point than you would, but how has that affected the camp if it has at all?
I think we got to speed things up a little bit. You know, get our work in, make sure we get good work in. You know, stay focused, and you know, really just try to expedite the process. I mean, we have to get that chemistry early. You know, really try to come out here, play as a team. You know, do the little things right, and go up there kind of with a different mindset. Whereas, you know, pretend like next week is April 1st, and you're trying to get ready in the last week of spring training.
What's been your feel on this? We talked a lot about this on our broadcast yesterday about the kind of the feel of camp. I said it feels like it's been very loose yet focused, and it's a different feel because, you know, last year all the talk was about how the season ended, and this year it seems like almost the page has been turned. How do you feel this camp has been?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, you know, we're focused on baseball, and, you know, we don't have any distractions. We don't have any you know, un-baseball related topics that we're having to talk about or deal with. We're out here focused on the season. We're focused on getting ready, and Jerry's got us focused, but also, you know, nice and relaxed, joking around, having a good time, and making sure we're getting our work in.
And I think you've even seen that in some guys too. I mean, you see Santana, you see his personality maybe a little bit more out in the forefront this year than it was. You know, do you sense that too? Do you sense a little bit of guys kind of having that fun while still maintaining their work?
Well, that's what it's all about. You know, you got to remember that no matter what the situation, no matter what the game, that it is just that.
Yeah.
And that's a game. You're supposed to smile, you're supposed to laugh.
You forget that sometimes, can't you?
Yeah, it's a bunch of big kids playing a game, and of course we all want to do well, we all want to win, but you have to enjoy it. And when you enjoy it, then I think you start playing the game the right way and playing the game. You know, you see those W's.
We've chronicled a lot the differences with you know, the camp between Willie and Jerry so far as Pagan lifts one to center. How about the workload? Has that changed at all for you in this spring under Jerry Manuel?
For the most part, spring training. But Jerry, you know, is definitely hands-on. You know, he wants to be a part of all the drills, whether it's the pitching side, whether it's the defense side, the hitting. You always see him standing behind the cage. You always see him, you know, in the field, you know, hooting and hollering. So I think that's a good thing. When you have a manager that puts a stamp on his team from day one, that's definitely a good thing, and we're going to buy into that.
Is there a drill that helps you the most, whether it's fielding or hitting in the spring, that you really get into and feel it helps once the season goes? Is Cora's going to do the exact same thing that Pagan did 2 away?
Well, I think, you know, you have to go in and you have to know what gets you ready for the season. You know, we got a great coaching staff, guys that bring a little different things to the table. So, you know, I really enjoyed Jerry's hitting drills that he's got us doing. You know, Jerry and Hojo have a lot of knowledge about what to do up there at the plate, and we're soaking that in. And then you got Sandy and the rest of the coaching staff that helps out with the defensive side, and you know, a lot of short drills trying to shore up your hands, and just go out there and try to get ready.
See, you go to the World Baseball Classic on Sunday, get ready for a couple days in Clearwater for going to Toronto. In that pool is Venezuela. There could be a David Wright, Francisco Rodriguez sighting. Would that be a little strange for you?
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. You know, that's what the World Baseball Classic's all about, is playing against your teammates, representing your country. And I'm really excited to play against K-Rod, to hopefully move on and play against the Carloses and Jose and those guys. So that's what it's all about, and we're going to go out there and play to win.
Now, you've been a guy that's been pretty straightforward, that, you know, during the season, you know, you fraternize outside the ballpark. You don't do it, you know, during the game. So now you go on a team where Chipper Jones is the other third baseman, Jimmy Rollins, you know, is that going to be a different dynamic for you playing with those guys who you're basically out to get every other day?
It'll be an experience. You know, like I said, as much as you know, you might not necessarily like a lot of the people you play against, but you respect them.
Sure.
And you're going to go out there and try to play as a team. And I think when you put that USA across the front of your jersey, you know, it's just that. It's a tremendous honor, and you can't put, you know, those kind of rivalries, you
although it gets done, it's going to be a rivalry, but you got to go out there and try to represent your country well.
Look at it this way, Dave. If the Mets and Phillies want to continue trash talking, you and Jimmy Rollins could do it the same paper.
Yeah, we could hold a press conference together and just go back and forth, I guess, or just get a wrestling ring and sell it there one for all.
Well, listen, always great to see you, and certainly good luck in the World Baseball Classic. We'll probably see you in a couple weeks when you get back.
Thanks, Kevin.
I appreciate it. Guys, David Wright, back to you.
Well, Davey Johnson's going to have some great lineup decisions with David and Chipper Jones sharing third base, Jimmy Rollins and Derek Jeter sharing shortstop. Who are you keeping out of the lineup on a daily basis? And there's a walk to Nick Evans with 2 out. So the Mets have a base runner here in the bottom of the 7th against the veteran Trevor Miller, who pitched for the American League champion Rays last year. And did not give up a run in the postseason until Ryan Howard beat him with a home run in the World Series. Here's Jeremy Reed up for the first time. Now playing in right field. Evans takes off. It's a strike. The throw to second, not in time. Jason LaRue behind the plate for the Cardinals. And Evans has himself a stolen base.
Good, strong release by LaRue, but just a good jump. It's a perfect throw. Wouldn't have got him.
So the Mets down by 2 here in the 7th. Have a runner in scoring position with 2 out. Jeremy Reed, who came over from Seattle along with J.J. Putz in that 12-player trade, in which Aaron Heilman and Andy Chavez exited. Aaron was then traded again. Now the Cubs.
Chance to start.
And Andy may get a chance to start in left field for Seattle. And Reed with a cut of a breaking ball in the dirt, 1-2. That is Adam Ottavino, a New York native, grew up in Brooklyn. Up in the Cardinal bullpen. Brandon Knight has been doing some throwing as well. Miller is now 35 years old, a true lefty specialist who comes inside on Reed, and it's 1-2. Miller at one time a #1 draft pick by the Tigers. That was back in 1991. Right out of high school. One, 2 to Reed. Inside, and he's hit. And the Mets have 2 men on. So Jeremy Reed has plunked, second Met batter in the last 3 innings to get hit by a pitch. And he took it about the same spot Doug did, around the elbow. So Reed is at first, and now Ramon Martinez will bat with 2 out and 2 on. Martinez took over at third base for David Wright. Ramon Martinez, who was the starting second baseman for the Mets down the last few days of the season last year. Trying to find a utility job in 2009. And he swings and misses, nothing in 1. Evans will read the base runners with 2 out. With the Mets down by 2. Mets have just 4 hits today after 2 offensive explosions in their first 2 exhibition games. 0-2 to Martinez. You've got the hitter in the shade and the pitcher in the sun, and Ramon Martinez wearing sunglasses.
The shadows aren't out far enough yet. They got to get a little further out to make it more difficult for the hitter.
But I just don't understand standing in the shade and wearing sunglasses.
I never understood wearing sunglasses, period.
Even on bright days?
Even on bright days of hitting. I know they got the special glasses now, like those blue blockers.
Yes, you love those blue blockers. And I loved your infomercials. Is that on YouTube anywhere?
I don't know. I hope not.
I've got to look. It's got to be. Everything's on YouTube.
Didn't I say something like, and the girls love it? Something like that?
Sure you did.
I just read my lines.
You're a good actor. After all, you're Keith Hernandez. Well, of course, the Mets' two most important changes are the two guys at the end of the game, J.J. Putz and Francisco Rodriguez, but plenty of other teams have made major moves in the offseason. The Mets hoped to get Derek Lowe, but he ended up signing with the Braves. Randy Johnson pushing toward 300 wins. Will do that in San Francisco. Brandon Knight on to pitch in the 8th inning. Knight, who made a couple of starts for the Mets last year around his Olympic appearances. And Tyler Green up for the first time takes ball 1. Bounce toward the hole. Coronado with a long throw to make in the dirt. And safe at first is Tyler Green. Let's go back to that list of offseason moves. Adam Dunn will be slugging in Washington. Of course, the Yankees spent tons of money for Sabathia and Teixeira and Burnett. John Smoltz, for the first time in his career, not in a Braves uniform. Trevor Hoffman, the all-time saves leader, moves. Matt Holliday takes his big bat to Oakland. Pat Burrell out of Philly for the first time in his career. Raul Ibanez in his spot. And that'll make the Phillies a little more left-handed.
Oh, yes. All the more reason for the Mets maybe to have that second left-hander in that bullpen. I'm sure Omar's scouring around looking.
I saw somebody refer to Raul Ibanez the other day as Benjamin Button, a guy who's gotten younger as he's gotten older. He's had a very good late career and a very well-respected player as well, a guy who grew up in New York. I think he's 37 now. He's put up terrific numbers the last 3 or 4 years.
And he hits left-handers well throughout his career.
John Jay takes outside.
Interesting to see Garrett Anderson out in Atlanta.
Jay Horwitz looking to make a trade. Technology has always confused Jay. He's a typewriter guy. Don't you think? Sure. He'd be very comfortable on his old manual Royal typewriter.
He's playing Pong.
I don't think so. I just don't see that happening. Jay Horwitz, a fixture for 30 years with this ball club. And it's taken high, and so Brandon Knight struggling, falling behind 3-0 on Jay. Brandon was called up in late July last year when the Mets needed to plug in a starting pitcher and turn in a credible performance. In fact, he did. It was against the Cardinals. He gave up 4 runs in 5 innings to a no decision. There's a strike. And was called back in September and made another start.
That was back in September when the Mets got that favorable schedule. Well, they had some off days, and they only had around the first half of September. They only used 4 starters, but then they had Jonathan Neese making a start and Brandon Knight.
Neese made 3 starts in September. There's ball 4, and so the first 2 men are on for the Cardinals in the 8th inning. That is 7 walks now for Met pitchers. Visit the official online shop of the New York Mets at Mets.com. Browse the largest selection of authentic spring training gear, including clubhouse caps and t-shirts, jerseys, sweatshirts, and more. Get your spring training gear straight from the source. Shop the Mets.com shop. So now 2 aboard, and Brian Barden the batter, and the Mets come in at the corners thinking he might be bunting, with the Cardinals leading 5-3 in the 8th. Does square and takes a strike. Barden up for the second time, walked and scored in the 7th. The Mets have used 7 pitchers today. The most impressive by far was the first one. Ivan Hernandez began and threw just 18 pitches to retire all 6 batters he faced. Casey Fossum also pitched well, 2 scoreless innings. Nice bunt by Barden, forcing the third baseman Martinez to handle it. 5-4 on the sacrifice moves the runners along.
Well, proper fundies for bunting. Look at that. Bat level out in front. Look at that. Perfectly level bat. And as Ron Darling said many times, when you want to bunt it down the third base line from Bud Harrelson, the master bunter, point the barrel of the bat towards the first base line, towards first base, and you'll bunt it down the third base line.
Those are the things when you're a fringe player that help you make a team.
Fundies.
Comma, day of. Jared Hoffpower grounds one down to third, a foul ball. This is such a nice, relaxing day at the ballpark.
It's a nice, relaxing game.
I just saw you yawn.
I was yawning.
So.
You caught me. They're relaxing.
I don't know. She looks stressed. I think someone needs to tell her it's only a game. And an exhibition game at that. Look. 1-1 to Hoffpower. The infield most of the way in. And he takes it up and in. A little larger crowd today than we had for yesterday's spring home opener. Well, that's where Keith began his day, down at the Tiki Bar. Strictly non-alcoholic.
Yes.
Still a crowd there. Shallow right field, not deep enough to get a run in, you wouldn't think, but it falls in for a hit. Reed unable to get there, and with Cora playing in, he was of no help, and that plates a run to make it 6-3. With Cora playing in, that would normally be his ball if he's back.
Right.
But it found the greenery. Fly single for Hoffpower makes it 6-3.
Perfectly placed. Yes. Reed wasn't playing too deep. The wind is blowing today from foul pole to foul pole, right to left.
Yesterday that wind was blowing a lot harder. So now Colby Rasmus is up for the 5th time. He's 0 for 3 in a walk. Fights one off. Rasmus getting plenty of playing time today. As Tony La Russa tries to sort out what they're going to do with their top prospect. Jay is on third and Hoffpower at first with 1 out, so the infield back at double play depth now. Cardinals now with 7 hits in the game, fake to third, and Knight unable to catch Hoffpower napping, and in fact he balked, and that'll bring in a run to make it 7-3. You have to step toward third base, and apparently Knight did not. Let's see. What do you think?
Not much of a step.
Yeah, not really.
Proper call.
So Mock brings in a run. Second of the inning to make it 7-3. A game that at one point the Mets led 3-0, but they've been held in check over the last 5 innings. And there's a slider for a strike. 1-2 to Rasmus. Brandon Knight first pitch in the big leagues with the Yankees in 01 and 02. Gets Rasmus for the 2nd out. So 2 away. And now Alan Craig will bat for the 2nd time. Craig had an RBI single in the 7th. Alan Craig out of Cal Berkeley. Same school that produced a now retired future Hall of Famer by the name of Jeff Kent. Up the middle and a base hit for Craig. And he'll have himself another RBI unless Pagan has something to say about it. But his throw up the line goes all the way to the backstop, and that'll move Craig down to second. So Craig with his second RBI hit, and he makes it 8-3 St. Louis.
Well, the Cal Bear goes first pitch fastball hitting right up the middle. Pagan. You can see the break right there with 2 outs on contact. And the throw way up the line. That'll be charged an error on the throw with the advancement of Craig to second base.
Mets' second error of the game. And now Jason LaRue will bat for the first time, with the Cardinals now leading it 8-3. So after a couple of wins, Jerry Manuel seeing a less than stellar pitching performance by several of his contenders. And that's ripped into left field. Craig will go to third and stop there. Ball hit too hard for him to try and score, but it's the 4th hit of the inning off Brandon Knight.
Well, fastball up right here, too much of the plate. LaRue all over it.
So that'll bring up Stephen Hill as you look at Rocky Cherry up in the Mets bullpen. Hill is he's listed as an infielder, outfielder, catcher. I guess that makes him the ultimate utility guy. What can't he do if he's an infielder, outfielder, catcher? I guess he can't pitch.
There, Brandon finally mixed in a breaking ball there. Been getting hurt on his fastball. A lot of guys first ball fastball hitting through a first ball fastball curveball there.
And it's 1-1 to Hill, the 8th man up in the inning. Cardinals have already batted around once in this game. Craig is at third and LaRue at first with 2 down. Cardinals now have 9 hits in the ball game, 4 of them in this inning.
I think after this game's over, you're going to need a couple weeks off.
Why?
You've been carrying this broadcast. You're really brilliant.
You've been here all along.
You're
right by my side. Are you saying that you're more like Baba Louie? In there for a call, strike 3. Hill down looking. You don't have to answer that if you don't want. So Knight finally puts the inning to bed. 8-3 Cards.
Okay, quick straw.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Sterling Mets and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Sterling Mets. Home 8th inning, and Adam Ottavino, who grew up in New York, grew up in Brooklyn, went to the Berkeley Carroll School. So he's facing his hometown team as Corey Sullivan bats for the first time and goes behind on the count 0-2. That's got to be a thrill for young Mr. Ottavino. Came out of Berkeley Carroll, went to Northeastern. Hit toward the hole and a base hit for Corey Sullivan. So the Mets trying to get something started in the 8th inning. And Sullivan has himself a hit behind in the count. And that'll bring up the shortstop, Jose Coronado. Arenado has developed a terrific defensive reputation in the minor leagues. The question on Jose is whether he's going to hit enough to play in the majors. But they love his glove at shortstop.
I would tend to think, though, he's in the wrong organization, Gare.
Rocky Cherry getting ready in the Mets bullpen. Well, you know, if you perform well in the minor leagues, you can always be used as trade bait for another team that has a need at that position. And you know how it goes with shortstops, too. They often wind up being moved to other positions.
Well, clubs tend to, you know, they always say it's important to be strong up the middle to be a winning ball club. So clubs will always, with their reserve players, if they've got a good bench and they can afford just a glove out there.
Double play ball. Hoffpower gets the out at first. Return throw, and it goes by the shortstop Green. Backed up by Jay in left field. Well, should have been a double play, but the Cardinals failed to turn it. They get the out at first base, and Sullivan advances.
Well, he does the right thing here, Hoffpower, in driving the runner back. The first baseman doesn't come in, or doesn't make the good throw, really. That's a great angle right here. Runs the runner back. No, he's fine. He just throw kind of sunk into the runner. Got to throw it to the inside part of the bag for your shortstop to make the tag.
So a runner at second with one out. Omir Santos bats for the first time and lifts one into center field. Colby Rasmus now playing center. Pulls it in for the second out. So now there are two ways. Sullivan still at second. And Rob Makoviak will bat. Makoviak played in the afternoon, the morning game against Italy, and had a base hit, drove in a run. Former play everywhere guy for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Trying to win a utility job. But again, if you're left-handed on this team, it's awfully tough. Left-hand hitter, awfully tough to find a spot on that bench. Way upstairs. LaRue did well just to get a piece of that, and it's 2-0.
Just a little bit too high.
Just a bit. Tomorrow the Mets play in Lakeland against the Tigers, about a 2-hour drive from here, up in Polk County, Florida.
When I played an A-ball in the Florida State League back in 1972, Lakeland still the Tigers, the manager was Early Wynn.
Really?
Yes, I said hello to him. He didn't say hi back to me. He's one of those old school guys, don't talk to the opponent.
That was a 300-game winner.
I know.
He didn't need to talk to you. Line to center field for a base hit. Around third comes Sullivan. He'll trot in to score. It's an RBI single for Rob Makoviak to cut the Cardinal lead to 8-4.
Well, nice swing right here. Fastball right down the pipe upstairs. Nice and level. Right up the middle. Pitched. Still got to find another word besides level. Don't. Sorry. Well, we got all spring to figure it out. Don't.
How about parallel? No. Here's Angel Pagano for the second time. Fly to center his first time up. I'll try and help you out on that.
Go look at my
Somewhere
thesaurus.
There's a thesaurus with
yes.
for you. Even. Right. Steady.
Enough.
Enough is not a synonym. Two 2-0 to Pagad. Now there's a pastime I loved when I was his age.
Yes.
There's nothing better than rolling down a grassy hill.
Yep. He's a big guy.
You have that little sense of dizziness when you got to the bottom.
Yes. Pagan got three hits in that opening game down in Fort Lauderdale against the Orioles. Had a great spring last year.
3-1 now to Angel. Well, when the Mets do their drills at the beginning of spring, measuring quickness and jumping ability, Pagan is always off the charts. He always measures #1 on the ball club. And he takes ball 4, so the Mets have 2 men on. So he's got tremendous athletic ability. It's been a matter of focusing in the right direction. It seemed like he was really heading that way last year with a good spring, a nice start to the season. He was filling in playing left field at the beginning of the year when Moises Alou began the year on the disabled list. And of course, Pagan got hurt diving into the stands at Dodger Stadium, messed up his shoulder, and never played again after the first part of May.
And he had a very good April. Was in the middle of a lot of big innings, drove in a lot of runs.
Here's Alex Cora, flied out to center in his only at bat. Mets batting in the bottom of the 8th, trailing 8-4, and Cora takes a strike. Alex Cora's older brother Joey, a budding managerial candidate, working under Ozzie Guillen with the White Sox. And a lot of people talk about Alex as a future manager as well. Never been a great hitter, but a good enough hitter to play for a long time as a utility man. Spent the last 3 years in Boston. And he misses high. Koviak at second and Pagan at first with 2 down. A run in for the Mets against Adam Ottavino, Brooklyn native. Bounced foul. Must have hit our microphone down there. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Back. Cora hangs in there. Inside with the slider. And so Cora working a long turn at bat. Anything in particular you're humming over there?
Just.
Was that just an idle hum? Ottavino, who pitched in the Texas League last year as a starter. 3-2. The runners will take off. Payoff to Cora, and he walked it. So back-to-back walks. And now the Mets have loaded the bases, trailing 8-4. Nick Evans will come to the plate as the tying run in the bottom of the 8th inning.
And out goes Dave Duncan, pitching coach.
Nobody throwing in the Cardinal bullpen, so it's up to Ottavino to get himself out of this inning. Step into the future today to get your 2009 Mets season tickets at Citi Field. Take a guided tour of the Mets' new world-class home. Get to Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX to schedule your special Citi Field season ticket tour. Operators are standing by. Have you taken a tour of the ballpark yet?
No, but my last game is on a Monday, I believe. The last week of spring training. Kai and I are going to fly up on Wednesday and go out to the workout on Thursday and get the old spy out the old ballpark.
Well, I hope you like the place.
Oh, I'm sure I will. I'm looking very much forward to it.
It's spiffy.
And you said every level you can walk around, or
walk 360 degrees around the ballpark and see the game.
That's a great idea.
Yep.
Wonderful restaurants, overhanging right field like Detroit Tiger Stadium.
2-0 to Evans, who walked in his only at bat and stole a base in the 7th. Mets at a grand slam yesterday from Jose Reyes. They're a grand slam away from tying this game. There's a strike, 2-1. 6'5" Adam Ottavino trying to get himself out of trouble.
Wind's blowing out to left.
We've set the stage, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Tony hopes not. Grounded to the shortstop. And Green makes the flip to Hoffbauer to end the inning. Mets get a run and leave 3. We head for the 9th. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by History's Axemen. The Axemen are back on History Mondays at 10 p.m., 9 p.m. Central. Stay tuned for a sneak peek. Rocky Cherry will pitch the top of the 9th inning for the Mets. The former Baltimore Oriole. There you see his numbers last year. By the way, Rocky, it is his given name. Jose Valentin wearing number 99. If he doesn't make the team this year, there's every chance that Jose will be a player coach in the Mets organization, probably down in Buffalo. Keep himself ready to play if needed, but start on his next career, which almost certainly will lead him to managing. Brian Barton up for the 2nd time, grounds one toward 3rd, right along the line. It's a foul ball. Foul ball. Juan Martinez grabbing it just in front of the bag. Well, the home plate umpire Vic Carapazza calling it foul. And by the way, kudos to Vic Carapazza, who today is calling his first ever major league game. That's pretty exciting for an umpire, you'd think.
Oh, that's what he wants. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to ump in the minor leagues. They want to all get up to the big leagues.
One thing about the minor leagues, nobody wants to be there.
But I tell you what, some of my greatest experiences were in the minor leagues.
Right, but you didn't want to stay in the minor leagues.
No. We actually got thrown out of a hotel in Wichita, Kansas once.
Why?
It wasn't my fault. I was a mere 19 years old, and it was a veteran team. And it was around 4th of July, and one of the players decided he had some fireworks, and he tied him around a doorknob, and one of his buddies around 2 in the morning and blew the door down.
Well, that's nice.
And we got thrown out the motel the next day.
Youthful hijinks.
The whole team. They threw us out.
Where'd you go?
I was out like a light, believe it or not. I was 19 then, and that scared the heck out of me.
Wasn't Wichita also where you wound up in the ditch that time?
No, that was in Tulsa.
Tulsa. Well, it's the same thing. Wichita, Tulsa.
It was the Wichita Arrows, which was the Cubs organization back then.
Oh, and 2 to Barton, misses high. Tyler Green on deck. We're in the 9th inning. The Cardinals lead at 8-4. They've had a couple of big innings in this game, a 4-run 3rd and a 3-run 8th. And that just misses. 2-2. Levon Hernandez, 2 perfect innings to start the game, but then Freddie Garcia had a very rough 3rd in his first outing against outside competition. Brandon Knight suffered through that difficult 8th inning. And he just got a piece of it. Barton stays alive, 2-2. Rocky Cherry says that his dad whose name is Pat, and his uncle, whose name is Jan, both of whom got teased for having what were considered girls' names when they were kids, decided to name him something tough, and that's why they named him Rocky.
Is it a boy named Sue?
Well, you know, if you have one of those ambiguous names, sometimes people aren't sure until they meet you. Unless you're like Pat from the old Saturday Night Live routine, and then they're still not sure. Perhaps that's what they had in mind. 3-2 to Barton. And he fouls it away. Look at that mouth guard that Brian Barton has. Must have TMJ issues. This will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat to Barton. And he fouls off another one. Brian Barton getting his money's worth against Rocky Cherry. Barton got 153 at-bats with the Cardinals last year, hit .268. As an extra outfielder. That's a very crowded St. Louis outfield. Might be tough for him to crack it this year. And a nice snag by Cherry. 1 out. Cherry on the 10th pitch of the at-bat. Has to think quick.
Well, the old one-hopper right back. Nice backhand.
So 1 out, and now Tyler Green will bat for the 2nd time. Took over for Khalil Green at shortstop and had an infield hit to start a 3-run 8th inning uprising for the Cardinals. Down to third base for Ramon Martinez to handle, and there are 2 away. So Cherry has retired the first 2. Mets have used 8 different pitchers today. That's a lot of pitchers in a spring training game. Normally you get, you know, somebody going 2, maybe 3 innings at a time. John Jay's played the whole game. Began it as the DH, finishing it up in left field. Drew a walk his last time up, and he takes it low. Tomorrow, John Neese will start for the Mets up in Lakeland against the Tigers. And the Mets will be back here on Sunday. There's John.
Has there been an update on Santana's status? He's going to skip how many starts?
Well, just the one.
Just the one?
Yeah, the plan is for him to throw either tomorrow or Sunday, and then he's going to start Tuesday here against the Cardinals. Are you here for that game Tuesday?
No, I think RJ's got that game. Ronnie
and Kevin. Neither one of us will be here. We'll be watching on TV.
Yes. I have DirecTV. I can get SNY.
Thank goodness. Toward the hole and past Evans into right field, and the Cardinals have their 10th hit of the game. Jay's 2nd hit, and so a 2-out base runner for Brian Barton. Barton has been up twice, walked and sacrificed. Just looking at that Cardinal logo on the front of the jersey, the birds on the bat. It's been around for how many years? 80 years?
They actually went 1 year without them in the 40s, I believe, and the people in St. Louis were so angry that they brought the birds on the bat back.
Think how the birds felt. What did they have instead?
I don't remember, but it may not have been the 40s. I'm not sure.
Line to center, tough play for Pagan. It'll land in front of him, and so back-to-back 2-out hits for the Cardinals. After Cherry retired the first two, now we'll take on Jared Hoffpower, who is 1 for 2.
I've got to meet Mr. Rusty Staub for dinner tonight. We're going to have dinner at Mateo's in Jupiter tonight.
What time's your reservation?
No,
you might be a little late. Hoffpower takes the slider for a strike.
It's a family-style Italian place. We figure with Rusty coming, we better take him to a restaurant like that.
Might be some wine involved.
Oh, he'll bring it.
Well, please give Rusty my best.
I will do that.
You know, we also saw here yesterday was Frank Cashin.
Yeah, I saw him today. He's here also again. He's here today. Big Frank. I love Frank.
Former Mets general manager who lives right in the area here at Port St. Lucie. It's great to see him getting around. 1-1 to Hoffpower, and he lines one toward the gap in left center field. That's going to split him. In to score comes Jay. Right behind him is Barton, but he'll stop at third base. So it's an RBI double for Jared Hoffpower, and it's 9-4 St. Louis. So 3 straight 2-out hits for the Cards.
Well, just a hanger right there. Got it away, but up. Not away enough. And runner on second, but 2 outs. Going to just Cadillac at home. And we'll show you the runner at first. Held up by Jose Akendo, the third base coach, former New York Met.
So Colby Rasmus comes up again. This is his 6th plate appearance. When's the last time you saw a guy get 6 plate appearances in a spring training game? 0 for 4 and a walk.
In a 9-inning game.
Yeah. It's been that kind of a day. Met pitchers have walked 7 and given up 12 hits. So after the Mets scored 9 in each of their first 2 games, they've given up 9 today.
That'll do it.
Down away, and it's 1-2. Well, you know, baseball is a game of 9. 9 innings, 9 players.
Yes.
And 9 runs allowed today by the Mets. Just missed, and it's 2-2 to Rasmus. Rocky Cherry trying to put an end to this inning after giving up 3 straight 2-out hits. 2-2. Driven foul as Rasmus got out in front of it. When the scouts look at Rasmus's body type, he's got power and he's got speed and he's got throwing ability. The guy they most compare him with is Steve Finley. A guy who could do all of those things. Down to Evans, who picks up the short hop to end the inning. The Cardinals tack on a run. We head to the bottom of the 9th with the Mets trailing 9-4. Last of the 9th, Jeremy Reed leads off against Adam Ottavino, and he takes ball 1. Reed up for the 2nd time, was hit by a pitch in the 7th inning, got hit near the elbow, but appears to be just fine.
Did we mention that the year the Cardinals had no birds in the bat was 1956?
Now, who found that out for us?
Of course, you know who.
Todd, our stage manager? No.
At script lettering, which was the idea of general manager Frank Lane. Didn't go over well.
I guess not. Hit deep to left center field off the bat of Reed and off the base of the fence. Jeremy Reed clocking one to the opposite field, and he's got himself a 2-base hit to start the last of the 9th.
Oh,
So Reed is on second with nobody out.
Royce Ring,
former Met, up in the Cardinal bullpen.
Well, he has bounced around the last 2 or 3 years, hasn't he?
Everybody needs a left-hander. Ramon Martinez takes high. Martinez struck out in his only at bat today. And Ottavino falls behind 2-0. And now 3-0. So the Mets trying to put together a rally in the bottom of the ninth. And not helping Ottavino out after he gave up a run on 2 hits in the 8th. And I got a feeling this could be Ottavino's last batter. You've got Corey Sullivan, the left-hand hitter, on deck, so Tony La Russa might want to see Ring against the left-hand hitter. Here's the 3-1. And Martinez fouls it off. 3-2.
Well, that's a good thing. We can go to another commercial break.
I'm sorry?
We can get another commercial break in.
Why is that a good thing?
We can make our sponsors happy.
Yeah, but fans don't want to watch commercials. They want to hear your commentary. Go ahead, comment.
I've been pretty silent lately. I haven't been much help, have I?
You know, it's not always quantity that matters. Quality is important too. 3-2 to Ramon Martinez. And he bounces one to the left side. Barden cuts it off, takes his time, and then throws it away. And the Mets have runners at the corners with nobody out. Well, Brian Barden had everything right. Checked the runner, and then it all fell apart.
Well, it's the exchange right here. He can't get the grip. And then he rushes his throw. And there's your result. Just couldn't find the handle.
So each team has made 2 errors today, and that is going to be all for Adam Ottavino, and Royce Ring will come on to face Corey Sullivan with 1st and 3rd and nobody out. Mets trailing 9-4 in the bottom of the ninth and trying to rally. Come right back and see if they can. Bobby Kelty batting for Corey Sullivan against the former Met Royce Ring, who pitched with the Braves last year. Kelty, a switch hitter, better right-handed. And he hits one foul, and it's 0-2. Kelty played in the game this morning against Italy, and I was surprised to see him bat right-handed against a right-handed pitcher. Didn't get a chance to talk to him afterward, but I'm told he just wanted to get some more right-handed swings. If he's going to make this team, it's going to be because of his right-handed prowess. Ring misses inside 1-2.
Well, you saw Ring's ERA last year, his first full season with Atlanta. ERA over 8. Ouch.
Mostly one batter at a time. He was in 42 games, pitched only 22 innings. Breaking ball drilled to deep left field, back toward the wall. That ball is out of here. Bobby Kelty with a 3-run pinch hit home run, and now the Cardinal lead is cut to 9-7. Well, that's exactly what Bobby Kelty was called upon to do. Provide some power off the bench. So he puts a feather in his cap with a 3-run bomb. And the Mets are right back in striking range. Still nobody out.
Well, not a very good pitch for 1-2. Hanging slider. Right down and over the middle, and Kelty just laid into it.
So now Jose Coronado bats, and he grounds the first pitch over Barton's head into left field, and just like that, the Mets will get the tying run to the plate here in the bottom of the ninth. The third hit of the inning, and still nobody out. Barton playing in to respect the speed of Coronado, and Coronado bounced it right over. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, by Harrah's, by Geico, and by Pepsi. Here's Omir Santos batting for the second time. Flied out to center his first time up. Santos the tying run at the plate in a 9-7 game. And Coronado back. Well, the Mets led this game 3-0. Didn't score again until the bottom of the 8th. When Rob Makoviak drove in a run, and now they have 3 runs home in the 9th on Kelty's pinch hit home run. 1-0 to Santos. The side-arming right-hander Darren O'Day is up in the Mets bullpen in case there's a 10th inning. Off the end of the bat, Hoff power in and gets the lead man at second. That's the first out of the 9th. So Santos aboard with 1 out, and now Andy Green will pinch hit. Green played in the game this morning against Italy and went 0 for 3. Former Arizona Diamondback. You okay over there?
I'm fine. Are you getting antsy? You look like you're nervous. You're worried about your flight?
I want you to hang in there with me.
I'm right there. I'm with you.
It's the bottom of the 9th, and the tying run is at the plate. 1-0 to Green.
Riveting.
Well, it's spring training, but you always like to win. Green takes outside, and it's 2-0. And Royce Ring having his problems.
And Royce is in here for the duration. There's no one up in the Cardinal bullpen.
Angel Pagan is up next, a switch hitter who's a better left-hand hitter than right. So if Green can get aboard, maybe Pagan could pop one and finish matters for the afternoon. There's a strike, and it's 2-1. Is that overly optimistic?
No, you make your flight too.
That's the least of my concerns. There are plenty of other flights. 2-1 to Andy Green. And there's a strike. Just nipped the inside corner, and it's 2-2. Well, we had a crowd of almost 4,800 here, and many have cleared out because of the length of the game. Those that have stayed, though, riding with every pitch. 2-2. Just got a piece to stay in there.
You notice the shadows over the home plate area now. That makes it a little more difficult for the hitters. Ball coming out of the sunshine and then dipping into those shadows makes it difficult for the hitter.
On 2-2, Green takes low and away, and a full count to Andy Green. Cardinals 9 runs and 12 hits. The Mets 7 runs and 9 hits. Each team has made 2 errors. There have been 14 walks in the game. That kind of day. Line drive, base hit. And the Mets have the tying runs on base. So Andy Green picks up the Mets' 4th hit of this bottom of the 9th. And Pagan will come up with the tying runs aboard.
Fastball right down the middle, but knee high. Nice hitting right there.
So here's Pagan.
You may have called it here.
Thinking about ending it with 1 swing. Pagan has flied out and walked. Mets were down 9-4 when they came to bat in the bottom of the 9th. 9-7, and the tying runs on. They already have 1 3-run homer in the inning from Kelty. Ball definitely carries out to left field the way the wind is blowing today at Tradition Field. And Ring misses badly with the breaking ball, and he's behind 2-0. Alex Cora, a left-hand hitter, will be next. Cardinal bullpen empty. I mean, there are people there, but nobody's throwing. 2-0. Big cut. Pagan was thinking long ball. It's 2-1.
Looked like you're looking for a fastball middle in. Ring kept it away.
Mets keep their bullpen working in case there's a 10th inning. Two-1 to Pagan. Strike call. Good fastball on the outside corner. And Ring gets even. On 2-2, Pagan reaches for it, hits it back to Ring, gets the handle, gets the out at second, but no more. Took Ring a moment to secure that ball, and that cost him any chance he might have had for a game-ending double play. So the Mets remain alive with 2 out and runners at the corners.
Well, very heads up by Ring here. That is the tying run. It's going to second base that he forces out. So he keeps the tying run out of scoring position. After that bobble, he could have done the defensive play and gone to first base, but he gets the lead runner, not the lead runner, the runner going to second.
So the Mets are down to their final out, and here's Alex Cora, who has flied out and walked in his 2 plate appearances. Tying runs on with 2 out, and he takes inside ball 1. If Cora can keep it alive, Nick Evans would be next, a right-hand hitter. And Cora lines one over short, base hit. That brings in a run and cuts it to 9-8. Pagan falls down, turning second, but he's able to scramble back. And so the Mets have put 4 on the board in the bottom of the 9th. It's now 9-8. They've got the tying run at second and the potential winning run at first.
Well, nice hitting right there by Cora going the other way. I don't know what Pagan's thinking. He is the tying run. He has nowhere to go on a base hit to left field. You cannot run your team out of an inning.
Fortunately for him, the left fielder Jay had no idea for a couple of moments that Pagan had taken a tumble. So Alex Cora keeps the game alive, and now it's in the hands of Nick Evans. The 9th man up here in the bottom of the 9th. Cardinals 9, Mets 8. Dave Duncan, the Cardinal pitching coach, will take a trip to the mound. He doesn't have anybody up on the bullpen, so he's going to have to stay with the lefty specialist Royce Ring to face the right-hand batting Nick Evans. Evans went 1 for 3 in the morning game against Italy today. And there you see that Cardinal bullpen empty of relievers. So now Evans will step in. Evans 0 for 1 and a walk in this game. Cora representing the winning run, standing at first base. Pagan the tying run at second. And Evans watches up and away for ball 1. Jeremy Reed, who began this inning with a double, is now on deck. That was against Adam Ottavino. Royce Ring has given up 4 hits in a span of 6 batters since coming on, including the home run to Kelty. 1-1 now to Evans. That's won their first 2 games. And they're trying to come back in this one. You got everybody up on that railing. 2-1. And Evans bounces one on the left side. Barton with the short hop pickup, and the Cardinals hang on to win it. The Mets score 4 in the bottom of the ninth, 3 of them on a Bobby Kelty home run. But Tony La Russa's Cardinals win it 9-8 and hand the Mets their first loss of the spring.
Well, not an easy play. You see the Jerry Manuel right there saying say goodbye to Tony La Russa. But not an easy play by the third baseman Barton there, but ends this game. And it was an ugly game, Gary.
Yes, it was. But the Mets got 2 very solid innings out of Livan Hernandez, which might have been the most important thing that happened today. But they fall in the end 9-8. Sunday on Pix 11, it's the Mets and the Houston Astros, our next spring telecast. So the Mets suffer their first loss of the spring as the Cardinals come to St. Lucie and beat the Mets 9-8. Now for Keith Hernandez and Kevin Burkhardt, I'm Gary Cohen saying so long from Port St. Lucie.